Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to the motherfucking Hopium Den. We're back, and we got a special fucking guest tonight, yo. It's Swegta, the fucking Swegta, yo.
Hey! Don't do that. That's highly ableist. Don't call me special. All right, don't do that. Although I actually, maybe I am. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Somebody will diagnose me based on this broadcast. But
Yeah, dude.
until then, I resent that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that like to psychoanalyze
So I don't know what the
shit
fuck
in my audience.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've had people do that to me so often. They're like, I'll have like a slight twitch or something, and they're like, oh, he's on crack.
Yeah.
He's doing cocaine.
Dude,
Oh,
I have twitches all the time.
My uncle used to do cocaine, and yeah.
I have these twitches all the time.
It's like, God forbid, God fucking forbid somebody has like God forbid somebody has like a slight twitch for like a split second, and then it's like, aha.
It's like, what are you
Gotcha.
What are you taking?
You're an
What are you
addict.
on? What are you, it's like, God fucking damn it.
Exactly. Like, I shit you fucking not. I went live on my channel, like I played some Bully, and I had a couple beers before I went live, and people are like, oh, so you're spending your money on drugs. It's like, well, kinda, but it's fucking innocuous. It's like having a couple beers, playing some video games. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. People are so fucking anal retentive nowadays, and I fucking hate that term because it has anal in it, which like implies fun.
Yeah.
But there's no fun activity involved in any of that shit. It's just like a bunch of fucking know-it-alls diagnosing people, like a bunch of like internet armchair psychologists.
Yeah.
Who you are and shit. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. If you a specific person that's been doing that, I mean, you know. I've been dealing with people that are like, oh, yeah, Jamie, you're like this, or you're like that. I don't know. Do you want to talk about that? We can. I know you asked me about it last time when I was on your channel.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to talk, like, whatever you want to talk about, I'm cool.
Yeah,
we're
doing a chill ass banter-sode, yo. We're doing a banter-sode, and I have permission from TJ to use that name, so I'm I actually don't, but I took it. I took it, yo.
You're not gonna get fucking sued. That's good.
Well, you know what? TJ's not gonna sue me. Okay, I'm too hot for him to sue. But oh fuck, what broke? Okay, whatever. I don't care. I just heard something break outside. I'm like, should I go check? I don't care. It's out there. I'm in here.
Okay, it's Fred Durst breaking some shit in the background. Who gives a fuck?
Fred
Go
Durst.
on.
So I know, actually, you know what? Because I know you were curious about the whole Ben thing, and I know you were also telling me, because I know you had some thoughts about Billy the Fridge, even way back, yo. And it's kind of funny because a lot of
okay, so I'll elaborate on that because like I want to make it clear to people that like I'm not like or like canceling Billy.
Yeah, no.
I'm just pointing out, and this is something that I pointed out back then. I mean, like, you can go to my fucking Twitter, as cringy as it is, you can go back there and see that way back in the fucking day, which, by today's standards or by internet standards is like a year ago, back in like, fucking like 2020 or whenever, questioned Billy on his affiliation with people like Onision and Only Use Me Blade. I just kind of pointed out, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are you drawn to people who accusations of like molestation against them?
Yeah.
How many times is this gonna happen before like eventually like people start looking at you like, what? Would it not make sense to like distance yourself from people like this?
Yeah.
And his response was like, "Oh well, you're an idiot." Like, okay,
You're
well,
an idiot.
I'd rather be an idiot than befriend people who are accused of fucking rape.
Dude, I'm sorry. The "you're an idiot" thing is like what you say when you have no argument. It's just like, you're poopy. Like, okay,
you're a dumb.
Okay, you didn't refute my point,
I know you are,
though.
but what am I?
Yeah. No, that's kind of because like I want to. I kind of pointed out that with Billy, and I wasn't saying like, oh, I condemn him as a person and he's like a worthless pile of shit now. I was just kind of saying, it's kind of weird that that's still going on. And then of course you get accused of like guilt by association Because like, oh, well, you're saying he's just guilty because he's associated with someone, and then they go like, oh, well, you're associated with this person, so you're guilty of this thing.
Okay, like, okay, think of it this way. Okay, think of it this way. Like, imagine if you have a person who is not racist, but they get along really fucking well with white supremacists.
Yeah.
And over and over again. And it's like, okay, eventually, like, at some point, people are going to question your affiliation with those individuals. That's what I'm doing. Like, I'm just looking at your fucking relationships, and I'm just asking, like, how many times could this possibly be fucking happenstance? I don't know. Maybe it is. And if that's the case, then maybe, like, you know, be aware of that and distance yourself from people who, like, engage in, you know, like, rape and shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's fucking video footage. Like, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not going to speak for you because, like, you know, legality and shit. But I can tell there's a video footage of Blade raping someone. So maybe don't fucking buy him a pizza. Maybe don't crash his, you know, live stream. Maybe don't fucking pal up to him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, are you serious? Someone just told me Pimp Monk was extremely creepy and pushy with Marshall Manson's wife last night on his stream. He made the same evasive comment about 24 times. Dude, that's Pimp Monk. He does that all the fucking time. And this is like, this is what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of like weird, creepy shit going on. And I don't know. I've tried to like be respectful of Pimp Monk and not like make assumptions of him. But like, he seems to be like engaged in that kind of bullshit too. Like, it's creepy. And again, like, I feel like these kind of people simp for each other.
I'm gonna reserve I have my issues with Pimp, but until I see the video of that, I'm not gonna speak on it. Like, I'm not saying it's, you know, I'm not saying people are lying. I'm just saying, like, I haven't seen the fucking, you know, stream, so like I can't fucking opine on that.
I will say,
if it's the case, fuck him. But, you know, until then, like I can actually verify that for myself, I'm not gonna pass judgment.
I will say this: I know who Marshall Manson's wife is, and I do know that Pimp Monk hit on her when she was 17, and I thought he realized that that's kind of like creepy behavior. I'm sorry, this is the first time hearing of this, so well, it's kind of like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like passing judgment on people either, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, fuck those dudes. Whatever. Like, fuck the fact that there's all this creepy behavior from all these people that are closely defending each other, and it's just, it's creepy.
Well, see, that's kind of like my thing. Like, I approached Billy, and I, you know, questioned him about people like Onision. And, you know, of course, like, when the accusations really kicked into high gear, and, you know, you have Chris Hansen and, you know, like, what was it, like the FBI or some shit involved, then it's like, you know, he puts out this like really like a somber and sorrow video where he's like, you know, to all the supposed victims, or like the people, you know, alleging that he abused them.
Yeah.
You know, listen, it's like, okay, well,
then he went to his house.
Do that like years prior. Like there's like a decade-long fucking, you know, track record of this individual engaging in this shit. You were made aware of this, no doubt. Point, at least like 24 people have fucking contacted you about this shit.
Yeah.
How can you possibly, in all sincerity, act as though you were just totally unaware of it? You were not.
Yeah.
You were aware of it this whole fucking time, and that's my fucking point of contention with you.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, that's my issue with you.
And again, he kind of like undermined it all by going to his house and acting all buddy-buddy with him, just proving like, I don't know what the fuck that dude believes.
By the way, Streamlabs enabled. Donations, please.
Yeah. It's kind of fucked. I don't know. It's a whole crazy situation. I've just been kind of taking a break from talking about it too much on my channel, just because it doesn't seem to be going anywhere right now, and a lot of the victims seem to be kind of like taking a break, which I don't blame them, dude. Like, it's been a fucked up situation, and it's been, the minute I talked about it, I got a lot of shit, and the victims got a lot of shit, and there's still well, actually, there's some bullshit that I need to address, because I had a stream taken down, my first stream, the Ben Pie problem.
mention that, you know, like getting fucking a privacy complaint filed against you, which I don't know, like it's kind of like interesting how not gonna get into that, but I find it interesting how like it's a privacy complaint when it's, you know, somebody alleging something against you, and it's like, oh, this invades my privacy. It's like, well, maybe fucking sue them if that's the case. Like, why hide the allegation?
Yeah. Well, according to the person, I guess I'll just talk about this briefly because they've been spamming my fucking comment section, being like, I want to clarify this. Ben isn't the one that flagged the stream. It was me. And it was some chick that I mentioned who happened to be one of, I guess, someone who's still in contact with Ben, and who originally messaged Alicia and was like, oh my god, like, he's doing this to you too? I've been talking to him every day for over a year, and I had no idea he's talking to other women, and, you know, and now she's suddenly just defending him. And so I thought that was kind of dumb, but I barely said anything about her. Her username happened to be on the screen for a couple minutes because I was looking at Alicia's Twitter, and so she apparently flagged it for that, and along with several timestamps of what I could edit. And so I actually edited it, and I thought it was fine, and then it got flagged again, and it got taken down. And now this chick's spamming my fucking comment section, being like, oh, like, you're trying to silence me, and I need to set the record straight, and like, I'm like, no, you don't get to fucking spam my fucking comments. I left because she spammed like this giant ass wall of text like 5 or 6 times. I'm like, dude, this is psychotic behavior.
I mean, if you wanted to silence this person, you would just like ban them from your chat.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't even do that.
Permit them to send you messages.
I even said, like, dude, if you'd have messaged
they're
me,
perfectly capable of like.
Yeah, I even said, dude, if you'd have messaged me and been like, I don't want to be implicated in any of this, please don't mention me, I would have cut you out and not mentioned you again. But like, so that stream went down, and now my fucking interview with Taylor has been fucking flagged, and that's kind of fucked too, because that has no one's private information except for a fucking abuse victim telling their fucking story. And so it's making me be like, no, like, fuck this bullshit of like, oh, like falling on the sword for Ben because, oh, he didn't flag you, I did. Yeah, well, it's clear why you did, and like, it doesn't really change the fact you're doing it on his behest, very clearly. And so I'm the last thing I'm gonna do is let someone like that like run my comment section. But yeah, no, it's. Oh, I thought. Yeah, no, it's just fucking. Whatever. I'm. Like I said, if people don't want to be talked about, I'm not going to talk about them. I'm very willing to like remove people from my streams if that's what they wish. I'm a professional stream. I'm a professional.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't got to talk about that anymore. It's just I know it's been a while since we've talked, and there's been a lot of crazy stuff happening over here.
Or like, if we're gonna move on, I'm just gonna leave it at this. Like, hey, Billy, maybe don't meet with people who are being accused of, you know, rape and sexual harassment and inappropriate interactions with minors.
I mean,
stay the fuck away from that shit.
But Billy's a sweet boy, though. He would. He would.
Oh,
never
mind. Haha, memes. Haha, it's all funny. He's not taking any of it seriously, so it's fine. Like, okay, well,
we got a kitty.
The allegations are still fucking there, dipshit.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people will ignore allegations until like the absolute last minute, and Billy's clearly one of those people. And so, like, again, I don't know that it says something terrible about him, but like, it's suspicious that like. Doesn't matter what comes out.
I'm gonna go that far, actually. Like, by this point, he should have fucking distanced himself.
Yeah.
If people came to me and they're like, hey, you know, like, this person that, like, you know, you're all buddy with is being accused, not even like accused, but actually, like, you know, with like, you know, legitimate evidence, being accused of having inappropriate interactions with minors, I would back the fuck off.
Yeah.
Not doing this.
Or at least like investigate it for yourself and see what's what.
I don't think like it says anything about like his character as far as like his actions go. I think it says something about like his inability to take a fucking step back and not engage with people of that nature. Just like, you know, maybe, and this is just me, but like maybe if someone is possibly like, you know, like a hebephile or a pedophile or something, or like a rapist, or somebody who's like, you know, victimized somebody else in some other capacity, you know, when it comes to like sexual shit, maybe don't fucking do a show with that person. Maybe don't pal up to them. Maybe don't fucking make light of the accusations. Maybe just move the fuck on.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents.
Again, and I'm not saying you gotta like believe every accusation, but like look into it.
Sure.
And again, in this case, there are multiple women that are coming out telling these stories, and it's not just one person, or it's not just rumor or conjecture. It's multiple women that have now come out and given fucking testimony, like. But
yeah, you know, like if somebody accused of, you know, like grooming and shit started humping my leg live on stream, I would not just laugh it off. I would either leave or clock him in the fucking face.
But Onision's a sweet boy. He's a dude. I wonder if like
okay, right, because you know, like haha memes, right?
I do wonder if
it's all good. Never mind.
I wonder if it never got to that point, if him and Greg would still be buddy. I honestly wonder that. I honestly wonder if he just would be like, I don't give a fuck.
It didn't
He's my friend.
Stop him from buddying up to Only Use Me Blade.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'd like to
motherfucker's actually accused of rape, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, my pal, let me hang out with you live on stream. Hashtag IRL. Hashtag epic fail. Lol.
It's
fucking dipshit.
Dude, that's why this show's not about the memes, okay? When you sell your soul to the memes,
you know.
Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, maybe it's about time, like, you know, we smoke a nice bowl of hopium.
Yeah, dude.
Do that.
Yeah, the hopium. Well, you want me to try to hopium pill you? Because I know we got our political disagreements.
Yeah, dude. Jamie, you know that I'm a total fucking doomer. Like, okay, when it comes to like, you know, we had a conversation about harm reduction, for instance,
yeah.
And I think you're coming at that from like a totally different angle. Whereas, like, you know, I think that harm reduction is as good as it will ever get. I'm fine with voting. I'm not fine with it, but I will vote for somebody like Biden if it means reducing harm. Like, if it comes down to that, yeah, I'll do it. Because, like, you know, I give a fuck about other people, and I think that, like, if it comes down to, you know, like, for instance, you know, 99 people die or 100 people die, then it's like, okay, well, let's do 99. I mean, like, I don't feel good about it, but I'll fucking do it if I have no fucking other choice.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have enough time to, like, change the system. I think we're fucked.
Well,
we're just fucked. Hey, look, I'm big now. Look at me. Look at my man tits.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, nice. All right.
I got sick of sick of using.
You know what I'm getting at, though. Like, I feel like I feel like, you know, you're way more hopium pilled than I am. You know, I've given up all hope that I have, and I'm just settling for, like, okay, well, if somebody is gonna fuck me in the ass, it has to be with a dick made out of spikes instead of like a chainsaw.
Right.
You know, like, I'm at that point in my life. And so like I'd love to be hopium pilled if you can, well, but see, I doubt it.
I make that argument a lot to people who are doomers. I make the argument that, like, look, I get your perspective that we're fucked either way, but, like, yeah, let's choose the path that gets us a little less fucked, you know? Let's make shit less horrible on ourselves than it needs to be. You know, but I'll be honest, like, I get it. I get the hopelessness. I get the doomer pill. I get where it comes from because, and I've spent a lot of time feeling this way myself, and I don't seek to invalidate it because I understand where it comes from. Like, especially when you've seen a lot of negative shit happen, when you've watched the system just completely cycle and never change, and you know, you've hoped for things to get better, you've hoped for the system to improve, and it never does. I get those feelings, like it's just never gonna get better. But then I realized, like, well, I got to realize, like, a few things. Like, for one thing, like, I do believe that great change is possible. It's not likely, and it doesn't always happen. But, like, within our own lifetimes, yeah, not much has changed, and probably not even within our parents' lifetimes. But when you look before that, like, there's a lot of changes that have happened, and I'm not just saying like, oh, things have gotten better in the past, so they will, but I also don't want to just assume that they never will. I think it's a fallacy to just like assume like, oh, everything has been going shitty, you know, so it'll always continue to. Like, we can prepare ourselves for that.
Okay, so how is explain, like, how is it a fallacy though?
Well, it's in my mind, it's a fallacy in the same way like having negative interactions with a couple of black people and then assuming like, oh, well, all black people are dangerous or whatever, and I need to avoid them because, you know, I'm gonna have negative experiences. I think it's kind of similar to that way of thinking, where it's just like, oh, I've experienced negativity, I've seen no change, like, and no
specifically,
improvement.
How so? How's it similar to that though?
Because you're.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me phrase it this way. Do you feel like it's like way too defeatist? Like, you know, you've had bad interactions with a certain type of person, so based on that, you've given up any benefit of the doubt you might have for future interactions. It's kind of like that. Like, you're just kind of.
I think a lot of.
Okay, so like the thing is, like, it's not based on like one bad fucking interaction. This is based on like, you know, my entire fucking existence, observing the political system, observing how people interact, and observing the fact that, like, we are running out of time.
I get
that.
We're
fucked.
I get that.
We don't have enough time to like, you know, to push the Overton window far enough to where, like, we can enact socialism. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the best course of action is to alleviate the pain to the best of our abilities, reduce harm, and maybe, fucking maybe, if we stand a chance, enact some form of, like, you know, yang kind of like UBI, where it's like, okay, capitalism, it sucks, it's fucking dog shit, but it's less fucking, you know, like, painful than it used to be. So maybe we'll be okay. Probably not. We're fucked. But, you know, for now, we're not gonna suffer as much as we would have otherwise.
Well, see, I completely agree with that, and that, see, we share the same short-term goal, which is why I think, honestly, like, you and I are probably going to agree more on solutions than I would with someone like Paul, who, like, you know, views where we have the same long-term goals, you know, where it's like long-term, me and Paul both agree we need, like, socialism or communism or something like that. You know, we need a complete overhaul of the system because it doesn't work the way it is right now. But I think we can bridge the gap between both of those ways of thinking. I think we can start with, because look, I want to have good short-term goals of, like, alleviating harm and fixing what we can here and there, but I also don't want to lose sight of my long-term goals. And I'm not gonna see. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people.
The difference, though, like, you have long-term goals. I don't. Like, see, that's the thing. Like, you have this prospect of, like, you know, we can maybe, you know, enact socialism. Maybe we could do all this, you know, amazing shit. Maybe we could, you know, decommodify a lot of shit. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we can, but I don't think we can to the same extent. The way I see it, like, you know, now's the time to do that shit.
Right.
Outside of this one fucking opportunity, we're totally fucked. We're not going to do that.
I think, look, here's something that's at the core of my ideology that I probably haven't been, I haven't gotten to yet. But the fact is, look, the fact is, I'm going to say this. I believe that no part of my ideology believes that there is, like, we are guaranteed a good future or that it's necessarily going to happen. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to fight for it. I want to fight for the best possible future I can. That doesn't mean I think it's going to happen. But I believe personally in shooting for the moon and getting as close as you can possibly get. I believe in, and I believe getting to where I want to get to means starting similar ways that you want to, where, you know, we patch up the system as it is now. We try to reduce harm. We try to maybe fix some of the holes in capitalism for a while to keep it, you know, afloat so that, you know, everyone doesn't die. But I also don't think we're guaranteed destruction. I know there's a lot of people, there's a lot of theories about climate change and what's going to happen and the economy crashing and just all kinds of terrible shit that could happen. All I know is that another thing that I've seen my entire existence and longer than that is, people talking about the end of the world, how everything's fucked and it's all going to end any fucking day now. And we don't know that. We don't know what'll happen tomorrow. We don't know what'll happen 3 years from now.
Hold on. It's not any day now. It's not any day now. It's like, you know, soon, but it's not any day.
Sure. But like,
I've yet to hear a single person say that.
But what I'm saying is there's a lot that could happen between now and whenever the fuck soon is. Like, we don't know what kind of technology could be to develop. And I'm not trying to be like super like optimistic or whatever, but like, I do think like, as long as there's as long as we're not dead, there's no reason to not be fighting. Like, there's always a reason to try to fight for something better, to try to improve things as best we can. So I don't want to just give up. You know, I want to try and... It's
not about giving up, though. To me, it's about like enduring the, you know, painful remainder we have of our existence, like, on this planet. It's not about like, you know, okay, well, we're fucked, so whatever, we'll just die, the end. It's more about like, okay, we'll die and we're fucked, but we could die slightly less painfully. Maybe we should pursue that.
But,
you know, like,
I want to
because to me, like, it doesn't seem to me like we have enough time or resources or even influence to really convince enough people to change their minds to really like save our asses.
Well, that's why
you say we're gonna like shoot for the moon and get as close as possible. I'm saying shoot for the moon, but like, you know, maybe just don't fucking hope for the moon, because you're not gonna get there. You're gonna crash and fucking burn. We all are.
Look,
so given that that's the fact, you know, maybe just like alleviate the crash landing in the process.
Right. My ideology though is more centered around the idea that I want to plan for a society where we don't fail. I want to be prepared for even beyond that. I want to try to, like, you know, fix things as best we can here and now, but I also want to try and sow the seeds for what I believe we need to do in the future. And I think doing both is important. And while I do see like addressing the here and now is probably the more important at this moment. Like, I don't want to like forget about the long term.
I think we know, like, okay, so we've like established where like you stand on this and where I stand on this, and you know, it's evident that, like, you know, we have a difference of opinion on that. We have, you know, as far as like, you know, you and me go,
yeah,
it varies a lot in terms of like, you know, what hope we have. None. You have some. You know, it doesn't seem like there's a huge distance, but there's a significant enough distance to where, like, you know, you have your agenda, I have mine.
Right.
Wondering though is like, you know, what could possibly fucking convince me to join your side? I've looked for it. I've paid attention. I follow people like Vosh. I've yet to fucking find it.
I honestly don't know, and because I can see your perspective and I understand it like very well, and so I honestly don't know what I could have said to myself when I was in a more doomer state. I think it's just like, I think it's something that happens like a little bit at a time, piece by piece. You start to look around and realize, like, maybe, oh, you know, we're not as fucked as we could be, or, you know, maybe there is some hope, maybe things could be better here or there. And it's not really an easy answer, but I know that personally I want to try to be the best version of me I can, and I want to try to make this world as good as I possibly can. I want to try to add whatever good I can to the world, and, you know, if there's even the slightest chance that we all survive and society becomes way better than it is now, then I want to fight for that. I don't want to not fight for it. I don't believe that there's a guarantee that we'll get there.
Let me okay, I'm gonna rephrase that. I'm just gonna rephrase that. So, you believe in that possibility as mere as it is.
Sorry, what? What was the last thing you said? You cut out.
Okay, so you believe in the possibility, the mere fucking possibility of us changing this shit.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I've, much like you say that you've seen like a lot of negativity and a lot of no change. If I look beyond that, because politics and society have existed longer than either of us, when I look at the broader picture, there has been great change. There has been a lot of advancements, and in a lot of ways, like, this is, society has grown by leaps and bounds in only like 100 years. And like, I get it that for a lot of us it's not good enough, it's not fast enough, and like, there has been a lot that's impeded progress, and it sucks. But like, I don't think, like, I know, like, for example, like, neoliberal establishments look like these giant fucking unbeatable obstacles that are in our way, and that we could never get past them under any circumstances. But then if you look at history, I mean, there have been situations where, you know, things have changed like that, and greater forces have fallen. And so I like to, and I understand why this isn't as appealing to some people. I like to, again, if I look at all of that and I look at the possibilities and what I believe can be accomplished, I want to try and strive for the best.
Do you think we have enough time?
If we don't have enough time, see, here's the thing. I don't think my actions would change either way. Whether we have enough time or not, I'd still be trying to do the same thing. I'd still be trying to get, you know, class consciousness out there, get, you know, I want workers to be aware of the system and what's fucking them and what the solutions are. And I want to, like, that's the solution. And so, like, it's not like I'm advocating for something.
Okay, but I mean, like, do you actually believe we have enough time to do that?
I believe that I don't know, and assuming that we don't could be the death of our society.
Not asking, like, okay, so I'm asking, like, actually, like, literally, like, do you think we have enough time to fix this fucking shit?
Again, I don't really know. I'd like to think that we might, you know. Again, we don't know what'll happen with climate technology, and you know, again, there's definitely a lot of disaster coming, but that doesn't mean the end of society. And I think there's enough of a possibility that enough of us will survive no matter what happens, that I want to try to prime our species for what comes next.
If I'm being honest, I'm not satisfied with that answer at all. I don't feel like you addressed what I just said. Like, I don't mean to be a dick about it, but like, I really, like, have no fucking idea what your response to that was.
My response
is,
if
you could rephrase that.
My response is, I guess, like, I don't know, like, I hope we do. I guess that's the whole thing. I hope we have enough time, and I want to. Again, like, I believe the path forward should be the same either way. You know, it doesn't really matter to me if time is cut short. I want it to
be like, I'm not, like, look, I want to clarify, because, like, I'm noticing a lot of fucking hostility coming from your audience regarding this.
Oh, I'm not even
clarify, like, I'm not even listening to them. People attempting to, like, make better of the situation we're all in. If you want to do that, go the fuck ahead. I speak for myself. I'm not trying to convince Jamie to, like, jump over to my side of the fucking stupid ass fence and be like, oh, well, fuck it, we're fucked.
Yeah. No, and
I don't think we have enough time. I don't think we have enough resources. I don't think we have enough influence. I don't think we have enough of a fucking voice to do that. And so until like I'm proven wrong, until like I see even an indication that we have an ounce of a fucking possibility of changing this shit, I'm not gonna delude myself into thinking that we will.
Well, see,
give it a shot. Go ahead. I hope it all pans out. But until I see any indication of that actually happening, I'm gonna, remain a fucking doubting Thomas.
Oh, and that's
far. We're fucked. We know for a fact that climate change is knocking on our door. We know for a fact there's gonna be a huge influx of climate refugees.
Yeah.
You think like the current migration crisis is bad enough? Wait until that shit happens.
Yeah.
So I'm not giving Jamie shit for this shit.
Yeah, no,
acrimony is directed towards the people in the chat right now.
That's fine. I know where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to necessarily pull you over to my side either. That was a joke at the beginning of this segment, just to be clear. I'm just trying to
sure
explain where I'm coming from, and like I said, I don't even necessarily care to pull you over, especially because we seem to share a lot of the same short-term goals, and because again, we believe at least I know your country is different, but at least in terms of America, we need things like Medicare for all. We need to decommodify certain things. We need UBI. We need to patch this broken system in whatever way we fucking can. And
as far as Sweden goes, we're far from that. We've made some steps. We do have affordable healthcare, actually affordable healthcare for the most part. I guess I'll just address this real quick because somebody asked me a question, if that's okay. All right. Why carry on then? What drives you? As far as I go, and as far as the shit that I care about goes, I've accepted my fate. It's kind of like It's kind of like when people talk to you about religion within the context of you being an atheist. It's well, you're gonna die, so what's the point? It's well, existence as of now seems to be bad. I mean, I have friends, family, relatives, people that I care about. I have passions, I have ambitions, I have goals, and I know ultimately all of that will be for nothing, really. I know ultimately, when I'm dead, I'm fucking dead. I'm going to be worm food. I'll just be, decomposing. But until then, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. And until then, I'm going to attempt to alleviate whatever pain I face to the best of my abilities. And I apply the same food to politics. I think, we're all fucked. We're all going to die. Everything's fucked. But until we get to that point, maybe just make it as good as possible.
Right.
So, if it comes down to voting for Biden, I mean, I'll do that. Out of it, I'll feel shitty, but I'll fucking do it if it means, protecting, trans rights and shit. I'll do that. About some ultimate pie in the sky fucking goal. About making life the best that you can, even when it's gonna crash and burn inevitably.
Right. Honestly, dude, I'll say right there, I think we have a similarity in the way we think there, because that's kind of what my goal is too. In a broader sense, it's not just we're gonna die, so I want to make life as good for me as I can. It's I know our society, we're all, this planet is gonna die. The universe is gonna at some point, everything ends, but I want to make our society, our society will end, but I want to make our society as good as I possibly can in whatever ways I can. I want to even if our society dies in 10 years, 20, 100, or thousands, doesn't fucking matter. I want to try to push us in the right direction in whatever way I fucking can, because I care.
Sure.
I care about society. I care about.
I'm not here to fucking I'm not here to shit on you and your fucking audience. I'm not here to spread acrimony and have some internet blood sports-esque bullshit go down.
It's fine. You're not.
I don't give a fuck about that. I'm actually here to have a sincere conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't fucking take kindly to people like giving me shit for it and like, you know, taking every little thing that I say like super literally and being not even fastidious, just like fucking flat out pedantic about my language. Like when I say faked, I don't mean like some magical fucking bullshit where like, you know, the universe has like, you know, created a destiny for me. I mean like, you know, fate as in my end, my path, the road that I will probably go down. And I'm looking to be convinced. I'm actually here to talk to people convinced. I want to be hopium pilled, unironically. Not going to happen, as far as I can tell, if people just keep shitting on me and picking apart every little fucking thing that I say. If this is like the best that, like, you know, the vote for Biden camp can promise, then I mean, like, there's no fucking wonder that eventually it's going to swing back to a Republican crypto fascist, not even crypto, flat out fascist piece of fucking shit.
Right.
I mean, you have to talk to people with promise. You have to incentivize them.
Yeah. And I understand that. And look, try not to... Some of the people in my audience are a little wary, especially after my discussion with Paul. And we've been getting a lot of bad faith trolls coming in here. And you know, here's the thing, guys. Like, Swegta is here to have a conversation in good faith, all right? He's not here to like you know, be antagonistic.
Hey Chad, you're so bad faith. What's up with you, Chad? You're so fucking bad faith.
Yeah, Chad.
Why would you do that? It's so bad faith.
Stop being bad faith, chat. It's fucking bullshit.
Like, hey. Being considerate is actually like a virtue. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Giving a fuck about other people, especially when they're looking to be convinced by you, dumb shit.
Yeah, dude,
is a good thing.
Zale, like, this isn't Paul, okay? He's not here to troll me. He's here to have a discussion, all right? Yeah, Swegta's just here to discuss bully news.
Yeah, like, look, I know that I'm arrogant. I know I'm abrasive, and I'm gonna do my best to, like, you know, tone that down. But somebody's like, you know, normally fucking, you know, like picking apart like every little fucking word that I use, and eventually, yeah, I'm gonna get fucking pissed off. So, like, Zale, if you want to talk to me privately about this after we're done doing this, I'll be glad to do that. But until then, yeah, fuck you too.
Yeah.
My feelings, fuck your feelings, bitch.
Yeah, I agree.
By the way, fuck your cause until I'm convinced to join it.
Yeah, very true. But no, I honestly, dude.
True.
Oh, Sweg, yeah, Swegta's just here to discuss bully news. What's the bully news, Sweg? When's Bully 2?
There's a wrestler who contacted Rockstar Games, like a female wrestler who's like, hey, look at me, I'm buff, get me a role in Bully 2, so there's that. But aside from that, there's fucking jack shit.
Wait, is there any hope of there actually being a Bully 2, or is it just a meme at this point?
It is a meme, but it's also like off chance thing, which kind of like coincides with our conversation, you know, like I don't think it's gonna happen, but if it does,
right,
sure. And until then, you know, like I'm gonna voice my opinion and just be like, hey, Bully 2, maybe, I don't know, but like it like none of this shit like comes down to my actions, really. Like I'm not here to be convinced to change my behavior and, you know, vote a certain way, because I'm already on board.
Yeah.
The difference, like you're seeing, is when it comes to like my attitude. Like I am defeated. I am just like, fuck. Okay, this is it. Fine. Okay, if this is it, this is it. But like I'm not. You know, I don't have any hopium. Like I'm all out. You know, like you.
I understand that.
Fucking bag, Jamie. It's all out of hopium. There's none left. I smoked it all. It's gone. What do I do?
I don't know. See, I understand that. I understand that way of thinking. I can only say that, like, for me, it just became like, I honestly got tired of being cynical, dude. I got tired of just assuming the worst and just being like, everything's fucked and there's no point in any of it. And, like, you know, I just got tired of assuming the worst and feeling negative all the time. And I was just like, you know what? I feel like when we are positive and try to put positivity out there into the world, we get more accomplished than just being negative and pessimistic and hopeless. And honestly, I I don't.
But I mean, like the evidence that like it's all hopeless. It's like overwhelming. I mean, like you've paid attention to the news.
Sure.
You paid attention to the science.
But I also pay it. I also
all of this.
Sure.
So like, there's no.
I also pay attention though to like positive shit that happens, and like it's not the greatest shit in the world, but like like for example, like LGBT rights are getting better. People are becoming more accepting and of each other. I know people look at like
yeah, but for how long? For how long? How long is that gonna last until eventually it's like, oh, by the way, we're gonna die now because we fucked ourselves. The environment that we exist within altered to no longer suit our fucking living conditions. Well, we're now just gonna die painfully.
If that happens, then it happens, but I want to be fighting to make things better. For example, like Bernie Sanders, I know...
you know for a fact it will.
Sure, but look, for example, Bernie Sanders got closer and closer to being president. I personally think if people had fought a little harder, if we'd worked a little harder, we could have gotten him elected. Maybe I don't know, but let's just say we did. Okay, wouldn't you rather, like, if we had 4 years left on this planet, wouldn't you rather live in a planet where Bernie Sanders is president than a planet where Joe Biden or Trump is president?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think the system's rigged, but,
sure, but
if the possibility, approaches me, then yeah, I'll vote for that.
That's the thing. I think there is a possibility, and I don't want to stop fighting for that. I don't want to stop fighting to push progressivism. Like there's more than just who becomes the president. We can push progressive candidates in local districts not just all over America, but all over the world. Like we can push progressive policies to our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers, our family. We can push that shit and push the message of class consciousness and workers' rights until we get to the point where
so like most people are convinced by like totally bullshit evidence. Like most people believe in angels and ghosts.
Use that then.
So, like how the fuck are you going to convince those people? Like
anecdotal evidence. Because anecdotal evidence is not a good way to believe shit, but most people do believe shit based on anecdotal evidence. You show the liberal wine mom who like isn't yet convinced on Medicare for all. You show them anecdotal evidence of here's a fucking single mother of 3 who's forced to go on GoFundMe to be able to pay for her fucking cancer treatments or whatever. You show them the individual problems with the system and why it's broken and why we need to fight back against it.
People see that shit on TV all the time. Most people have seen the like starving kids on TV. You think most people actually give a fuck?
The starving kids doesn't really affect a lot of people because it's not as close to them as certain other things. Like you got to show them like situations that are closer that they can empathize with. It has to be kind of
like in their backyard, basically. It has to be like like my neighbor can't afford to like pay for her insulin.
Oh yeah, yeah. You've got to show them that there's people around them. There are people in your country, in your city, that are living through shit, and that there's a reason to fight back, and that there's something that we can do. You get it? I want to bring our society to the point where like. It's just a no-brainer. See, for a lot of people, like a lot of Bernie Sanders policies were a no-brainer for like lefty Twitter. Most people are like, yeah, obviously. But then you look at society outside of that, not everyone was on board. So that's why we've got to like keep pushing this policy until it is in the mainstream. You got to push back against these fucking neo-libs. I want to be fighting against Biden right now. I don't want to just sit back and say, oh, we got Biden elected. We're done. We did our job. Harm reduction. Yay. I want to say, no, let's keep fighting.
So like what you're saying actually like, so like I want to bring something up. I want to talk about something like, kind of ties into what origin of language. And by the way, I actually saw one of your videos today. Out of curiosity, I checked out an interview that you did with the fucking dude who, I don't know, like I'm just like an uneducated fucking buffoon. What do I know? But like I checked out your interview with that one guy who translated the Bible, and you compared it to the King James translation. So origin of language, I pay attention. I may be stupid, but I fucking keep a close eye on shit, to the best of my abilities anyway. But you mentioned how do you know others don't know this? You can't control how others view the world. And yeah, that's true. And it ties into what the fuck I'm saying. Like, how the fuck do you change shit if it's a democratic process, or supposed to be, And most people are just oblivious. Most people are just totally, not even oblivious, just like unwilling to not be oblivious. How do you change minds then? Like, there's no way to change the system if the majority of people, basically like what George Carlin described, where it's like, you know, why give a fuck rights of like somebody else if I can just like go to Walmart and, you know, use my credit card to like buy a fucking pair of sneakers with lights in them. Most people are paid off with like just brain dead entertainment and like little gadgets and gizmos and shit. Convince people to look beyond like the keys being dangled in front of their, actually like give a fuck about their fellow man. How do you do that?
I mean,
out of like, you know,
I was like,
I'm just like a dumb fucking 25-year-old, but like there's like out of my 25 years on this planet, I've yet to see a single person break beyond that point and actually surprise people and wake them up beyond that.
Look, here's the thing though,
I'm not
dude.
the most eloquent person at explaining this, but like hopefully you understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, here's the thing though, dude. Like I get that perspective, but like at the same time, I have seen people change. I've changed my mind and come from really backwards, stupid fucking ideologies and you know, become a lot more, for lack of a better term, woke on certain issues. And so have you, and so have a lot of people. I believe we have the capacity for great change. 5 or 6 years ago, I was a right-winger, okay? I was a fucking conservative Christian idiot, okay? Like, now I'm a fucking a socialist, leftist, transgender, scourge on the planet. You know, I'm a Marxist, extremist or whatever, you know. Like, we can change.
Well, what else are you though?
People can
like,
be convinced.
Here's like the key difference though. Like, you're willing to actually look at like, you know, the factual information you have access to. Really willing to look beyond what you've been brought up to believe. And, you know, like any other person, like, you have bias. So do I. We all do. But most people are not willing to do that.
But they could be.
People just want to wave their fucking flag and you know, cheer for whatever team they picked.
There was a
blue team, red team, whatever the fuck. RD, it doesn't matter. Christian, Judeo.
But dude, there was
people have their fucking they have their tribes is what I'm getting at.
I get that, but I was there. I was
convince even half of those people to look beyond that shit because it's instinctive. So how do you do that?
You have to, unfortunately, like, you have to, like, deconstruct everything they believe in and show them why it's bullshit. And no, not everybody will that's not going to work on everybody, but it is going to work on people. It worked on me. It worked on you. It worked on a lot of people. And we just got to keep trying to get those wins wherever we can, convince people wherever we fucking can. And, you know, it may never even be like the majority of society, but if we get a bigger and bigger, stronger voice, you know, like, I believe we can accomplish more and more. And that's, like, I don't believe there's some magical goal that we can reach where, like, everything will be fine, or, like, if we get X, you know, everything will be good. I just think there's, I view it as like you know the quote, I've seen this quote going around where it's like, you know, some people see an unbeatable boss and I see unlimited XP. You know, I see it as like, you see a giant unbeatable foe in front of you, and rather than just, you know, giving up or just being like, it's going to defeat us eventually, you try to, like, you keep attacking it, you level up, you improve your stats, your skills wherever you can, you keep upgrading and you keep getting better at fighting, and you know, you
sure. And I am doing that. Like, we're on the same page as far as, like, actions go.
Yeah.
Beyond that, like, I've yet to, like, if you could present me with, like, something definitive that would actually convince me that, like, oh, you know, we can actually change this shit, I would be on board. I'm already on board as far as, like, you know, harm reduction goes.
That wasn't, like, your quote, Zale.
I don't want their fucking civil rights to be, you know, encroached on. So, like, I'm doing the same shit you're doing. I don't fucking any hope for the future. I don't.
No,
I've long since given up on that, and it's not because of like some pessimist, fucking immature, petulant attitude that I have, contrary to what some of the people in the chat may think.
Right.
It's because like I've yet to see anything that actually instills hope in me.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm here to like find it.
Well, here's the thing. Honestly, I don't think you're.
Whatever you got, whatever the fuck you got, just give it to me now. I don't. Because like I'm asking you to like hope pill me.
Here's the thing, dude. I don't think you're gonna find it that easily. I don't think you're gonna like be able to just go to someone else who's more hopeful and be like, give me the hope secret. And I think it's based on your own personal experiences, because honestly, like, I had to get to a point.
But who the fuck else would I approach?
Honestly, like, where I'm coming from, like, I came to this way of thinking by basically getting to a place in my life where I felt hopeful again, where I felt like, it's not all doomed. And I had to start living my life. I had to start being myself and start like being honest with myself in a lot of ways. I know like the biggest change in me is that most people can see is me being trans, but like it's deeper than that. I was lying to myself in a lot of fucking ways. I had built up a fucking exterior to like protect myself from any kind of hurt again, any kind of like anything bad. I had to like shield myself from the negativity to the point that I wasn't living. I wasn't willing to take risks. And once I got to a place where I felt more comfortable with myself, I started like realizing like, you know what, it is okay to take risks, and it is okay to hope and know that, you know what, everything might not turn out the way you want it to, but at least you're fucking trying, and that puts you leaps and bounds ahead of the people who aren't trying. And it's not an easy place to get to, and I fully understand that.
Sure, but okay, so let me put it this way. So, like I've talked to a lot of religious people.
Yeah.
Religious, but like I've talked to a lot of them. And usually what a lot of it comes down to is like you have to believe. And when people say that like, hope has to come from within you or from like, your own experience or shit like that. Whence cometh hope? When is that going to happen? Because like I've yet to see it happen. Maybe I've just, had like a shitty life or something. Maybe like eventually at some point I'm going to like find something or a person who totally like immediately instills hope in me. But until then, I'm gonna like, there's no way for me to convince myself is what I'm getting at.
Right.
To like, believe in this actual shit. Because like,
I agree with you. I don't think.
How do I do that? How do I actually do that? Like, what should I tell myself? What should I ask myself?
Well, honestly, instead of like, because look, you clearly, the shit you believe, like the shit that you're doing politically or whatever, that's all fine. But like, maybe that shouldn't be your main focus. Maybe your focus should be I'm just going to live my life and I'm going to find happiness wherever I fucking can. And then maybe someday in the future, once I have the energy to fight, then I'll have hope for something more. But like, that's kind of what you got to do. You got to like focus on fixing yourself. You got to focus on like.
I'm doing that though. I'm doing that.
I get that, and I was doing that for a long ass time too. And it takes a while before you finally like find yourself, before you finally like feel better. And like, again, everyone's experiences are subjective. This is why, like, I don't try to tell people, oh, you should come follow my path and just be like me. Because I would never do that. Because I get everyone's in a different fucking place. And not everyone has had my fucking experiences. So I don't expect everyone to have the same hope that I have. In fact, I understand why some people are extremely fucking hopeless when that's all you've seen. Like, you're gonna feel hopeless. But my point is, when you look at when you look at the raw numbers, when you look at statistics, when you look at people, how many people there are in the world, it's kind of like the kind of advice I give, like, for people for like dating advice, where like, oh, I'm never going to find someone. I tell them like, look, dude, especially when they're like, oh, every relationship I've had has been bad. And, all the people I've met are shitty. I'm like, how many people have you met? 6 billion? 7 billion, because there's 7 billion fucking people on this planet, right? So like that's 7 billion potential people you could have a connection with, or let's say a billion or two to be more fair. But like,
sure. Coincidentally, this is actually like similar to advice that I've given incels.
Yeah. No, that is that.
Like I've actually used a similar argument to like convince incels not to totally give up hope in finding a mate. Like when it comes to like social interactions, I do have hope. I do think that out of all the people on this planet, you're bound to find someone you can connect with.
Yeah.
But as far as like societal change goes, I've yet to see any indication that we're capable of doing that. I mean, like even if we at some point were, which I mean, like I think we could have been.
But look at the past.
I don't think we have enough time to do that.
Look at societies that have existed in the past, and I get it. Like, yeah, it looks as if we don't have a lot of time, but we also don't know that. We don't know that we don't have a lot of time. For all we know, like some crazy shit could happen within the next 10 years.
We do know that. We like the signs are there. Like we can't predict the future, but we can draw conclusions based on the evidence that we have access to, like the fact that, the climate is changing. We know it's going to change to no longer be suitable to our needs. And because of that, it's going to have like a domino effect where like a lot of societies are going to have an influx of immigration to this crisis.
Do you know that's
going to exacerbate?
Do you know for a fact that will lead to your death within your lifetime?
I'm not talking about my lifetime. I'm talking about like the opportunity we suppose, like according to you, we have to improve to the extent that it's like, okay, well maybe we could elect somebody like Bernie Sanders. Maybe we can, but even then, like the system is totally stacked against.
That's why you fight the system.
So if the opportunity crosses me, yeah, I'm like, I'll do that. I'm not gonna fucking like totally give up and be like, well, fuck that. I mean, I'll do that shit. But like, do I think it's gonna succeed? No.
I mean,
absolutely not.
That's the thing, though. You don't really.
It's more about like reducing the harm that is caused, or like inflicted upon people who are like trans or black or gay, like marginalized groups. Basically, that's concern when it comes to voting. Like maybe it doesn't affect me, but it fucking affects other people that I care about. Yeah, I'll vote if it means reducing the harm that those people face. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I'm not gonna cast a vote in total sincerity, believing that we are making steps towards some definitive improvement to society. Right. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think this is it. We're fucked. This is the end. My only friend. The end.
Well, that's why, again, like, I don't think we differ. The fact that we don't differ too much in our short-term solutions, where it's like, this is what we need to do to make shit better, and like, I think we could potentially be making things better in the long run. You think we're making things better until the inevitable end. At the end of the day, no matter which of us is right.
No, not making things better. Just like keeping shit the way it is now, and maybe occasionally having some minor social change where it's like, hey. Instead of like most people being transphobic, now it's like about half of people. But
But wouldn't you want to make things even better than that until the end, if you could? Like let's say we have 10 years left, right? And you could choose between, in the next 10 years, are we just gonna have like some better social changes, or could we particularly have like decommodified healthcare and housing and whatever? If we had like 10 or 20 years left. Like, wouldn't you rather fight for the better outcome so that we could have like the most comfortable existence on this planet for as much longer as we've got? Sorry, what'd you say?
I don't think it's gonna happen though. I've yet to see any sign that that's what we're moving towards.
And again, we don't know that, but like my whole thing is, as long as there's a possibility to go in that direction, I want to push us in that direction. I want to push progressive candidates. I want to push the Bernie Sanders type policies all over the place. I want to push that in the minds of the general populace. I want to get us as close to that as we can possibly get. And even if this fucking planet is in the middle of being sucked into a black hole, I want to go into that black hole fighting for the best possible fucking future I can, fighting to make the lives on this planet as comfortable as I can before we fucking all go out. And again, also, like, I think it's important to remember, like, we know there's going to be a lot of climate crises. We don't know exactly what form that's going to take. We don't know necessarily, like, does that mean, like, all of society is going to be gone within 20, 30 years? Or does that mean...
Yes.
We don't...
Okay, I never said within, like, 20, 30 years. I'm not going to go that far. But I do think we have a finite amount of time, and I do think that the clock is ticking. And
it's always been ticking.
Like, elections are not held that fucking often. At least not often enough for us to, like, affect some significant change. So, like, I just don't see that happening.
Well, the way I see it is, like, if look, let's... I mean,
like, okay, so, like, okay, so let me I want to rephrase this a bit. So, like, we know that ultimately we are fucked.
Sure.
Right? We're on the same page thus far.
Yeah.
Right. Given that that's the case, what do?
Whatever
you have a finite amount of time. You know the clock is ticking. You know the hourglass has been fucking turned. You know that, eventually you're just going to be totally fucked. There's no way out of that. Try to reduce harm for people that I care about and myself. That's all I can do. That's all the power that I have, which, for all I fucking know, they don't even fucking count my vote based on some bullshit, but I don't know, that's conspiracy theory shit, so I'm not going to get into that, but, like, I'll do whatever I can to help my fellow neighbor. I'll do that.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, the clock ticking goes, I mean, I'm cognizant of that. I think we all are. Even the people who, supposedly deny climate change, well, I think, like, they know... to some extent that, like, if I actually looked into this, I would realize that, like, okay, maybe there's something to it. Maybe having, like, the fucking, like, whatever hottest years on record in a row is, like, not a total fucking insane coincidence.
So
for time, the evidence is abundant. So, like, for a fact that most people acknowledge the truth, or, like, have the ability to do that, but they just choose not to.
I mean,
you have people like, Ben Shapiro saying, like, okay, well, okay, for instance, if you look at, like, Louisiana on a map, it doesn't actually resemble what Louisiana actually looks like at this point. Way more of it is below fucking water now.
Yeah.
So our maps are, now, partially inaccurate. Avoid acknowledging evidence like that, and they're just kind of like, well, that's... like, whatever. It's, it's just lib shit. It's like, no, there's an abundance of scientific evidence to corroborate this fucking concern. So why not look into that? And, even when they do, now we've gotten to the point where, like, a lot of conservatives are acknowledging it. But they're just like, it's too late. So, like, the people you could have convinced, that you attempted to convince, have yet to be convinced until it's too late. And now even those people, at least most of them, are just like, whatever. Shit happens. So, like, even your opposition acknowledges the fucking reality of the situation. So, like, how do you convince people to have hope? How do you do that?
First of all,
as far as I can tell, they're on my side, but not really.
I mean,
sorry, I'm not phrasing this in the best way possible. Hopefully you understand what I'm getting at.
No, I do. Look, the thing is, I don't believe it's too late until it is. It's not too late until the whole planet is flooded. It's not too late until we're all literally fucked. Like, I'm sorry, like, as long as science exists, I'm always going to be like, I'm always going to be aware of the fact that great scientific advancements have been made in the lifetimes of people that never would have imagined, like do you think our grandparents ever would have imagined the fucking internet? Like when they were young, like, television was new, like, there's people that never would have imagined us going to space. Like, I'm not gonna believe that, like, oh, like, there's no hope whatsoever, like, until it's 100% clear that there's no hope. But in terms of like the clock ticking, like we've always known the clock is ticking. And okay, look, let's say, okay, right now, you realize.
Okay, so as far as like the clock ticking goes, actually, I want to interject real quick because like I remembered something that I've always thought about that, like, you know, most people don't have a conversation about really. Take religious people, for instance. A lot of them, possibly most of them, I don't know. I grew up atheist in like a secular household, so I'm not well versed in this shit. But as far as I can tell, most people believe that eventually God's judgment will come, and it's like, okay, God gave you this earth, God gave you all this shit, you know. And even when most people believe that, they don't value the planet. They don't value the living conditions of, you know, the other species. They don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
Even when people, like, you know, have like faith in that shit, don't actually like live up to those beliefs when it comes to like their actions. It's more about just kind of like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna go to heaven, yay me. Okay, well, what about the planet you fucked up that God supposedly gave you? It's kind of like a shitty thing to fucking do. I don't know, like if I lent my car to like a friend and he totally fucked it up, I'd be pissed. It's not the best comparison, but you know what I'm getting at.
No, I've made that argument
even given
too.
that that's the case, like, you know, most religious people believe that, like, you know, the planet has been given to them and they are fucking it up, and they know that if they look into the evidence, they'll recognize that, yeah, I'm a part of that damage. So how do you convince people? Like, conservatives acknowledge this shit, religious people acknowledge this shit, and people on your side acknowledge this shit. Most of us are aware of it on varying levels. And what? Like, you've already, like, we're all kind of on the same page to some extent.
In terms of climate change, I guess, but like that doesn't mean that like.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about like how we're fucking shit up. You know, like when it comes to like, you know, religious people. I mean, like it's undeniable. Even if you are like the most conservative religious person, like it's undeniable at this point that like if you pollute, that's gonna fuck up like at least like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So you are aware of that.
Yeah, no, dude.
So, like, even, you know, most people being aware of that, like,
I've made the argument to so many religious people who try to like, oh, well, climate change isn't a big deal, because then they go, oh, well, God made this planet and he would never allow it to be destroyed like that, or even if he did, whatever, he's gonna renew it all anyway because he's God, and it's just like, yeah, no, they're never gonna respect it, and that's it's fucking annoying. But look, I. What it comes down to is, like, there are some people you're never going to convince. You're never going to convince them of what needs to be done to make things better. But there are people that can be convinced. And if we can convince the right people, if we can get the right policies enacted, we could at least soften the landing. We could at least maybe, like, extend, you know, like, maybe if we continue, like for example, like, because someone was like, bringing up Paul's argument to me about like, you know, oh, we only have 10 years, Jamie. We only have so long, and you know, so why vote for Biden or whatever? We only have so long. And I was like, well, if we only have so long, you know, I would rather put Democrats in power.
Did they actually say 10 years?
I don't remember what. They use like 10 years or whatever as an example. But like,
okay.
I was like, okay, if we only have 10 years, I would rather have Democrats in power that will allow us to have those 10 years still, maybe extended a little bit if they do something, rather than Republicans who would probably cut that shit in half. And because I do believe it could be made worse, and it could get worse, you know, but I think it could be made better. Like, we don't know definitively what will happen and when it'll happen, so I think we just need to soften that landing however we fucking can.
But I mean, like, we can make estimations based on what we can observe. So, like, you know, if you're, like, this is not the best analogy, but, like, you know, if you're sitting in a fucking room and, like, somebody walks in with, you know, a gun and they're, like, loading it and aiming it at you, there's a good chance that, like, you know, they're going to shoot you in the fucking face, right? So, likewise, you know, we can look at a lot of, like, climate change happening, and we can deduce that, you know, like, okay, well, eventually this is going to affect a lot of communities, and thus a lot of those communities will have mass migration. And you know, the way societies are set up, they're not good at handling mass migration. In fact, oftentimes it tends to lead to like the rise of fascism. Not a good fucking system we have in place. And I want to bring up something that like Galen mentioned in the chat, and it kind of goes back to what I said about like you have like a domino effect, where you have a problem and eventually it leads to more problems. The economy is going to get fucked by this as well.
Yeah.
Not doing the best job at rephrasing what he said. I'm not the most eloquent fucking person ever. Sue me, but I do think that like it's worth keeping in mind that it's not just about climate change. It's also about the effects of it, and the additional consequences we're gonna face.
Right.
How do you deal with that? I mean, like, you could establish all kinds of like laws against discrimination against like, trans people and shit, which I'm all in favor of, but actually gonna change the way industries work, where it's like, okay, we're mass polluting, but hey, fuck it, makes a lot of money, right? Like,
right.
For a fact that like, a lot of people who are wealthy are buying like bunkers and shit.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, when shit hits the fan, I'm just gonna jet and I'm gonna chill in my fucking bunker with my family and friends, and all you peons will be left to rot away in whatever squander we're gonna leave you in. So like the people in charge, a lot of them are aware of this shit. They don't give a fuck. A lot of wealthy people are who have are supposed elected leaders in their pockets. They're aware of this shit. The average person, to some extent, is aware of this shit. So it's not even a matter of like elucidating this and pointing out to people that like, okay, well, this is happening. I venture to say like a lot of people are aware of it. They just don't care. They're totally detached.
I mean,
or they have their fucking sneakers with lights in them. They have their fucking iPhones. They have their fucking kids they pick up from soccer practice, and that's good enough for them.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and a lot of people won't care until it's literally too late. They won't care until like literally like it affects them, and that sucks. But that's why like I'm all for like preaching the message of climate change and like this is gonna fuck us, guys. We got to do something. It's gonna fuck us. It's coming. But this is the thing. I fear that if you go to the extent that you go to, and it's like, okay, this is definitely going to fuck us, and there's no avoiding it whatsoever, that people are going to be like, oh, there's no avoiding it whatsoever? Okay, so let's not do anything. Whatever. Hey, it's all fucked anyway, guys. I want to give people the motivation to, no, we can try to do something to fight back against this.
No. That's totally inaccurate. That's not at all my stance on this.
Oh, what? Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misrepresent you. What's your...
stance is not it's all fucked, so let's not do anything.
No. I didn't say that.
It's fucked, but well, I mean, you did.
No. What I said is your stance is it's fucked and we can't avoid it. And what I'm saying is I worry that people will go from that to the position of it's fucked, so let's not do anything. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like...
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you're saying let's not do anything, but a lot of people are going to have that attitude.
I get it.
And that's why I like to push back against that attitude and be like, no, I think there is something we can do. And even if it's...
So basically, like, what you're getting at is like, okay, like, if you want to, like, the best approach to, even if it comes down to, like, alleviating suffering, the best approach is to convince people to basically be naive about it, even if you know that it's a naive
not necessarily
approach.
Naive.
Like basically, like it's the most effective way of getting people to. Well, I'm speaking like from my perspective on this. Okay, so like you have hope, I don't. So let's
sure
rephrase this. So hold on. Sorry. So. Basically, what you're saying is like, it's better to convince people to have hope to basically have the approach that I have, where it's like, okay, well, there's no hope, but alleviate pain. the better approach, in your view, would be to tell these people that, like, no, there is hope, and you should have hope, and because of that, like, they're going to be more motivated to the pain. So it's basically like about efficiency when it comes to like convincing people, if I'm not mistaken.
I guess I'm not trying to convince people that there is objectively hope. I'm trying to convince people that you don't know there isn't hope. I feel like that's two different things, right? Like I'm trying to like. I want people to not give up all hope and try to like I want to like I want people to keep in mind the fact that we don't know anything for certain, and so let's keep going in the direction that we need to go, assuming that we will have more time. And if we don't, if it gets cut off and we suddenly like realize we're fucked, well, at least we tried. At least we did everything we could and we failed. But if we just say like, well, it's going to fail anyway, and let's just try to make it as comfortable as we can until the end, you know, then can we really say we gave it 100%? Can we really say we fought against this climate crisis till the very end? And maybe some people don't value that way of thinking, and I get that too, but I value the idea of fighting till the end, of doing every single thing that you can do. That's why I voted for Biden. It wasn't because I thought Biden was going to have some great effect. It's because I thought, no, this is another way that I can like hedge my bets, that I can like take whatever good we can, you know, and try to push things in the best direction we possibly can, in whatever way we possibly can.
Well, you know, eventually the pendulum is going to swing back, right? Like, you know, eventually you're going to have somebody like, you know, like Trump or Cruz or whatever the fuck, like anything the Republicans can push.
Very possibly, but that's why part of what I'm trying to do is push the Overton window back to the left so that when it does swing back in the other direction, because I'm sorry, I don't believe for a minute that like, I know that the ratchet effect gets brought up and the fact that like, oh, it keeps going way to the right and then the Democrats inch it a little back to the left and then the right pushes it way further back to the right again, that it doesn't need to be that way.
It's like, can you define that? Or if you don't feel like it, can somebody in the chat like get me a definition?
The ratchet effect?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and like pretend like I know what something means.
No, sorry.
If, like, you know, somebody references
sorry,
something, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, no, sorry. That was something that Paul brought up the first time I had him on for a discussion. It's basically the idea that the left-right political system, like the Democrat-Republican system, it is basically like a ratchet. Like it goes in one direction, it goes forward in one direction more than it'll go back in the other direction. So every time a Republican gets in power, it swings more to the right, like all the way to the right, and then the Democrats get in power and they push it back a tiny bit, but then a Republican comes and they push
like
it even more.
The swing from left to right and right to left is intensified as time goes on.
Yeah, but that it's intensified more in the direction of the right, or more in one direction than the other. You know, for example, like you'd move like 10 inches to the right and then 2 inches to the left and then 10 inches to the right again and then 2 inches to the left, you know. That's a
yeah. I don't know about that. I'm not gonna speak for that because like I don't know enough about like U.S. election history to like opine on that without talking out of my ass.
But that's an example that Paul tried to use. But I was basically, my response to that was like, again, things have gone further to the left. Maybe not a lot in America, but like in plenty of societies they have, and it doesn't need to just go to the right. We can push to the left.
I just want to, sorry, like I apologize, but I'm getting fucking fed up with this shit. Okay, so I don't know what ratchet means. Guess what, dumb shit? I'm Swedish.
No, not
right?
Oh wait, did you not know what a ratchet is?
Remember your fucking language. If you want to explain what something means to me, you can just do that. You don't have to be a cunt about it.
Yeah, no, sorry. I didn't know if that was a word you weren't familiar with.
Not you. Somebody in the chat. I'm not calling you a cunt. All right, we're cool as far as I can tell.
Yeah. But no, it's anyway. My overall point was that like I get it. The Overton window, and that's probably something you're a little more familiar with. The Overton window, the you know, how we view the political spectrum, it has been pushed further and further to the right. And I think a lot of people have just kind of just sit back and let that happen. I want to push it further and further to the left. I want to do whatever we can to like bring leftist ideas back into the mainstream and make it okay to hold certain positions in the mainstream. I want to fight against you know, this push to the right that's been happening in our society for a long ass fucking time. That's my overall goal, is to just push the Overton window as far to the left as we fucking can. You know, by pushing leftist ideas and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of like changing the Overton window to be more left. I'm in favor of that, and I'll join you in your effort to do so. But I don't think we're gonna do it fast enough to actually, you know, well, disaster. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and look, I'll say this: I don't. Just like I said earlier, like I don't expect you to change your perspective on it. And honestly, like if I'll say this, if you're not where I'm at, maybe I don't fucking want you to. If I don't want you to just like, you know, if you're not in a place where you can just like have hope for society to get better, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe you're not at a place yet where you can be like, or maybe you won't ever be, where you can be like, yeah, I'm going to be hopeful for a better society. Maybe you just got to focus on you, and you just got to focus on making things better where you can. I'm at a place where I personally want to try to make society as better as I can. And I realize I probably got to focus on myself in a lot of areas too. But like, I believe in trying to make ground wherever you fucking can, trying to, you know, gain whatever fucking advancements you can in whatever tiny little areas, you know. And you know, I want to grind that XP. You know, I want to do what I want to level up socialism points. You know, I want to, even if you know, we're hurling towards an asteroid or whatever. You know, let's max that shit out. Let's max it out before the big explosion. You know.
That goes. I think you and I are on like the same page.
Yeah.
For the most part. This guy is Swedish and is a doomer. Dude, you know how happy I would be to live in a nation that's left-wing? It's not about, like, my living conditions. Dude. It's about the future of our species.
Yeah, and
that's the thing that's, like, you know, doomer-pilling me.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, dude. I lived in Canada with socialist medicine, and I was on disability for years, which I you know, and I had a pretty decent life. I had a pretty, like, you know, privileged life compared to where I'm at now. And, you know, I was depressed as fuck, you know? It wasn't until like I found my own inner happiness, and I started to find, you know, my own meaning in life, that I started feeling more hopeful. And so like just having shit provided for you, like the idea that like, I'm sorry, like there are rich people, there are billionaires that are fucking miserable people. Okay. Like, just having shit provided for you or living in a decent society doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. It just doesn't. It'll make things better for a lot of people, but yeah, like our society is fucked. And even if I lived in the most, Is the chat? See, I ignore the chat while I'm talking. I don't.
Somebody's totally like befuddled by the fact that I don't know what a ratchet is. Like, yeah, dude, look, I know a lot of like Ciscapedalian words and shit. Like, I'm, you know, there's occasionally like I'll use some terminology that most people don't understand. There are occasional fucking words that I, as a Scandinavian, just don't know much about, like ratchet. I mean, like, I know some fucking definition of it,
you know what?
But I don't know it within the context of, like, how Jamie described it. And even if I did, even if I fucking knew, like, would it not make more sense for me to just ask for her to, like, elaborate on what the fuck it means than to just be like, oh, ratchet, I know what that means. All right, presuming that, let's proceed.
Yeah.
Like, it makes more sense for me to just be like, hey, could you clarify this term that I'm unbeknownst of?
Yeah, and it wasn't just the word ratchet. It's because I said the ratchet effect. And look, I didn't know what it was either until Paul explained it to me, or sent me a little image to look at. I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Oh, well, who doesn't know what a ratchet is, Jamie, you dumbass?
Like I know what a ratchet...
Like, people... Occasionally, you're going to find people in conversations who don't know what a certain term fucking means or what a word means, and it's okay to fucking ask. I'd much rather have a conversation with someone who just asks me to elaborate than to just assume what I mean and to just base the conversation from that point off of what they think I mean.
At least Sweg's being honest, yo.
Yeah, dude, I'm honest about my fucking idiocy and incompetence. So, like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck else could I do? I'm an honest actor. I'm good faith, Jamie. I'm good faith.
Well, that's all you can hope for. And see, I'm more interested in like convincing people to be honest, just in general, honest with yourself, honest with the people around you, and charitable. I don't care about like making people necessarily hopeful. I realize not everyone's going to be hopeful. But like honesty is what's important, like being honest with yourself. And that's why like it took being honest with myself about a lot of things to look at myself and realize like, yeah, this cynicism, this negativity, it's not really helping me. It's not like, you know, it's not necessarily killing me, but it's also not helping me. And you know, I don't know, maybe in 10 years or whatever, I'll come to the realization, you know what? Having hope isn't helping me either. Fuck this. You know what? I'm a doomer again. But I believe, like, you at least come to a better understanding of yourself, and you're able to, like, do better for yourself and society when you're more honest with yourself and charitable.
Sure. I mean, like, okay, so far, I think we're both in agreement, but there is, like, one correction that I want to make, and it may be, you know, kind of like, I don't know, like, way too fastidious on my part. Like, I'm just kind of, like, obsessing over everything you say, like the chat does. But I want to clarify, like, I do have hope and faith in my own well-being and happiness. I mean, like, I think ultimately, like, I'm going to die. I know that. Well, I can tell based on, you know, other people dying. But until that point, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of positivity in my life. I think, like, well, sorry, I meant the opposite of that. I think, like, after that point, I think it's all just going to go downhill. So, like, I'm going to live a relatively good life, I hope. I don't know. I'm going to make the best of it. I have hope in people. I have faith in people, but I don't have it to the extent that I think we're going to achieve meaningful societal change, to the extent that it's like, okay, we're going to deal with climate change. We're going to deal with the rise of fascism. I think we can, you know, to the brakes and, you know, slow down the unavoidable impact. But until then, you know, like, I'm not going to delude myself into thinking that, like, oh, we can go beyond that.
Sure.
We can do, like, oh, we can do way more than that, buddy. We're going to be A-okay. I mean, like, climate change, impending fucking, you know, mass migration, impending the rise of fascism, impending fucking socioeconomic issues that are going to be far exacerbated beyond anything we've seen thus far. Pish posh. We'll be okay. I just don't see that happening.
I wouldn't ask you to do that. I wouldn't ask you to just, like, ignore all of that. All I'd ask is that, you know, as we're fighting against these things, if there comes an opportunity for you to do something meaningful, that you do it. And it seems like you're already there, where it's like, yeah, you know, if I can do something to help society, if I can do something to make society better, or, you know, ease the suffering of people, I will. And that's all I want to see from people. I don't need people to, like, I don't think people in general need to, like, necessarily just let go of their cynicism. I think it's a valuable fucking tool, to be perfectly honest. I think, you know, being a little negative sometimes can be helpful, and it can, you know, like, you can't just assume the best. Like, because look, and I've said this before, I know my show is called the Hopium Den. Part of me wants to change it, because opium dens are where people go to like overdose, and I don't want people to overdose on hopium. I just want people to have a little bit. And you said yourself, like,
sorry,
yeah, you said yourself, like, you have hope that, you know, you could live a good life. You have hope for the people around you, and, you know, that's all I want to see. I want to see people not give up and, you know, try to make things better wherever they can, and that's the path towards having more hope in general, is realizing, okay, I've got hope for a better life, and then once your life gets better, or once you like figure shit out, and you know, like, that's when you may at some point in the future be like, oh, you know what, maybe things aren't as fucked as I thought, and maybe we can fight for more. But if you don't get to that point, that's fine too, you know. Not everyone needs to be there. I'm not saying everyone needs to like jump on to my ideology, you know. I just want us to be fighting for something and not giving up.
Yeah. Sure. I think we're mostly on the same page. I mean, like, setting aside, and this is something that one of your mods, setting aside our differences as far as like hope goes, I mean, like, I'll fucking join you in the fight. Like, I'm not advocating for doing jack shit. Like, I'll fucking be there marching with you. I don't think we're gonna go beyond, you know, reducing harm.
Yeah.
And as for Logan Looker, who's like an old school viewer of mine, actually, wanted me to elaborate on what I mean by rise of fascism. I don't know, like, if you tuned in just now, but like 20 minutes or so ago, I mentioned how mass immigration oftentimes leads to the rise of like nationalism and, you know, like jingoism and shit. I mean, I've seen this firsthand with like relatives and friends in Sweden during, like, you know, the mass migration we had. So imagine that times like 50,000. You know, like, it's not even a matter of like economics or warfare. Now it's like it's just unlivable conditions. I mean, like, it's like the ultimate incentive for people to just like flee and go wherever the fuck they have access to. That's gonna lead to the rise of fascism, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
it could be wrong. I'm not a fucking historian.
It could. Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily. That's one of the reasons why. Because I want to push socialism. I'd rather have like the collapse of society under a more socialist society than what we have now, because I do believe that what we have now could lead to fascism. But if we have a more peaceful, well-sustained society where, you know, we have more necessities decommodified and people realize that, oh, shit can work like this, then if we have a collapse, it'll be more likely that we could rebuild it like that or better. Or even if we don't accomplish that, like, I personally think that, like, what we could do is, if we have, like, there's also the idea of, like, look, if our society collapses, how do we best prepare our society to rebuild itself properly and not, like, rise to fascism? And I think, again, pushing these class-conscious workers' rights ideas, pushing leftism in the minds of regular people so that, you know, once it all does collapse, whoever's left is able to, like, you know, realize, okay, this is the system we need to build. And I don't know how we get there, but I know, like, part of it involves, like, you know, pushing these ideas and class consciousness and all of that. Hello. We got a kitty.
Though, because like it seems to me like most people, I would venture to say that like most people have a little bit of, like, you know, racial bias in them. Like, you know, if you're talking about, like, you know, white people, for instance, if like they walk through a neighborhood where it's like, you know, it's mostly black people who live there, they're probably going to be a bit on edge, you know, whether or not they like to admit it. And a lot of that comes down to, like, you know, oh, well, 1350, you know, shit like that.
Yeah.
Likewise, I do think, like, you know, when you have mass migration, you do have a lot of, like, communities where, you know, these people move to where, like, it's made far worse. And it's because a lot of these people, like, don't have access to proper opportunities and support in fitting into the community. So a lot of them resort to crime. A lot of them feel ostracized by not only the government, but just like whatever place they move to. And of course, like it only snowballs from there. And because of that, you do have a lot of nationalists.
Yeah,
I'm using that term pretty fucking nicely. Nationalists who will point towards immigrants, oftentimes engaging in like violence or robberies and shit. And they'll be like, "Oh well, that's the way they are." Elaborate on that further beyond that point, but shit like that, and that just kind of like exacerbates it from there. You have people who fall for it. A lot of people, I'd say most people, will eventually fall for that shit because like they don't want to really acknowledge the possible solutions. Like, hey, maybe we should invest in improving these communities, because when you say shit like that, it's like, oh, you're gonna help a bunch of like brown criminals on my tax dime? Fuck that.
Right.
I'm gonna vote for like the Nationalist Party. Like, people are really that fucking stupid.
No, I know they are.
I've seen the rise of like the Sweden Democrats. I know this shit. I've seen the elections, not just once, not just twice, but 3 fucking times at least within my lifespan. This party, like, less than 2 decades ago, was just like openly neo-Nazi. They were just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like that was their shit. They had like a fringe support base. And now they're like one of the major parties. And yeah, they've toned down the fucking Nazi shit. Still like far right nationalists. We're talking about Sweden. Like a supposed like socialist, communist, regressive, cuck, leftist, soy jack, whatever the fuck the terminology is now, utopia. Still, we can't escape this shit. Overton window is way more to the left in Sweden than it is in the U.S. So what do? I think Jamie's gone, but
no, I'm right here.
Let
Sorry,
me ponder this.
My cat was crying.
I saw you fucking like take off. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I'll just continue rambling.
My cat was crying. She
I'd like
wouldn't
to hear
shut up.
Your thoughts on that, like, oh yeah, she's upset with my defeatist attitude. I'm a fatalist or whatever the fuck the term is.
Yeah. No, look, I think it is likely that could happen, and we've seen it happen a lot. The migration starts, and then people become really nationalist, and I get it. I don't think that like every society is going to inherently go in that direction. I think it could. I think it might be different. It could be different if we have a big enough catastrophe that is disastrous enough to end the world. I think maybe if we all had the common enemy of this climate crisis, maybe we could band together as a society. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath for that. Well, it's not here yet, though. It's not in everyone's face enough yet.
It's already affecting people, though. It's already fucking consuming houses and shit in like Louisiana. It's already there.
It is, but
we can observe this. We have been observing this for decades.
But rich middle class white people are comfortable, so. It's nothing.
Sure, but I mean, like, what's it gonna take? Like some fucking like 2012 scenario where like the planet like opens up and you see like magma flowing out and shit. Like, if that's the extent to which like shit has to go like totally awry, then I mean like it's too late.
Maybe, but
now it's too late. If it's gonna get more severe, it's definitely gonna be too late.
This is why though, like I get like in a lot of ways it probably is too late, but like this is why I want to push in the right direction however we fucking can, because like another thing to point out, because you point out like the nationalist way of thinking and the like get these other people out of here, we're gonna have these brown criminals come and live off of our tax dollars, like that unfortunately is all tied to like culture war bullshit, and that's why I think it's very important to fight back against the culture war and again push progressivism wherever we can, push acceptance and understanding of other people and empathy.
What do you think that stems from, though? You say that it's like a culture war thing, and it is, but like beyond that, what do you think leads to people thinking that way?
A lack of empathy. Definitely, like in our society, people
specifically like, what do you think the root cause? What do you think the root cause in a person of that shit is?
Oh, I think it's actually a lack of empathy. I think people, especially like, for example, like if you're a Nazi in Nazi Germany, right? You're a person that from and yeah, someone in the chat makes a good point. Fear is a component to it. But if you're a person,
yeah. So you're getting warmer. You're getting there. I'm just like, what I'm. Do you know what I'm like hinting at though?
No, go ahead.
Instinct. People are highly fucking tribalistic. If you have an easily identifiable characteristic like being a brown person from elsewhere, and you show up, and people associate brown people from elsewhere with like criminality and shit. It's easy to lead the average fucking idiot voter into
why do they
voting against those people's rights.
But why do they do that though? Why do they assume that the random brown person from somewhere else, like why do they assume
instinct?
It's not just instinct. It's a lack of
people are easily convinced. People dude, okay, so like let me just like let me give this as an example to like just kind of like enforce my point. So oftentimes these nationalist parties don't just point at criminality among foreigners or like a minority. Oftentimes what they will do is utilize jingoism and national pride to the highest of their abilities. They'll do that, and it's because it's fucking effective. You have a group of people with symbolism that like represents whatever fucking group they are a part of, and you have the outsider, the threat from like another nation, whether it's like just it's cultural, it's genetic, whatever, 1350, let's not talk about it, whatever the fuck they believe. People are easily convinced by jingoism, by nationalism, by xenophobia, racism even. It's a horrible fucking trait in the human species, right. But it's rooted in our fucking survival instinct. I think that we should do our best to fucking, bypass that, but I don't know how. I don't see us doing that anytime soon, because like I said, even a place like Sweden falls for this shit.
I do believe that people can be taught empathy, though. I believe, because it's part of our instinct, sure, but there's a lot of shit that we do that goes against human nature and our instincts as animals. Like, a lot. Like, it's not within our instincts to build cities or use birth control or drive around in cars. Like, we can surpass our human nature, I believe. And, again, like... there are people who are more empathetic than others, and I do believe it's something that can be taught. I think at the end of the day, the reason why a Nazi is able to dehumanize a Jew and view them as inferior and worthless and send them off to the death camps is because they have a fundamental lack of empathy for that group of people. So if we push our society in a direction that's more empathetic, if we are more empathetic as a people to our fellow humans, I believe we can at least have like an attitude that's somewhat antithetical to the nationalist mindset. And I don't think...
Yeah, but it's not about just like that existing and like trying to combat that. It's the fact that it's not just prevalent, but it's highly influential, and it keeps popping up even in places that are...
I know. Fascism is always a fucking threat, so you always fight against it. This is like when I was arguing,
and I'm on board. I just don't see us eradicating it. I just don't see that happening because it's so that like there's no way, there's no argument that you could make that will like make a person fucking like avoid touching, like avoid having like the reaction they have when they touch a hot plate. There's like shit that we're like biologically programmed to do, which, you know, makes sense, but a lot of it doesn't. You know, like some people want to fuck kids. That's bad, and I would argue against it till like, you know, the fucking, to whatever extent I can. But it's still something that a lot of people are like biologically inclined to do by instinct. So how do you change that? The best thing that I could think of would be to continue arguing against it, but also acknowledge that it's unavoidable consequence of our fucking nature.
Well,
it's unfortunate. I don't want it to be the case. It fucking depresses me to no end, but I don't see that ever going away. And until it goes away, you're not going to save society from impending doom.
Yeah, I get that. But I would say, again, we have a lot of negative instincts, but we have positive ones too. There's a reason, like human beings are drawn to each other. We're social creatures. We need each other. We have the capacity to be empathetic towards one another and other animals, in fact. And I think at the end of the day, we need to just fight back against our worst instincts and try to incentivize our best instincts and create a society that does so. And I don't know how we do that, but I know we gotta fight. We gotta fight towards it somehow, you know. And I do. That's why I believe like a leftist society is the most you know, empathetic society, a society that looks at someone who's poor or homeless and says, you know what, I don't care what led you to that. You know, you deserve a base level of existence. You deserve a baseline of respect as a member of our society. And that's why I believe in pushing those ideas above all, because that's, again, you're never going to convince everybody. You're never going to completely eradicate fascism. You're never going to completely eradicate evil. You know, there's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be bullshit. But like, my goal is to fight against as much of it as possible and, you know, negate as much of it as possible. You know? Yes, Kitty. Holy shit. She is like...
Ditto.
Yeah. Sorry, Kitty is distracting me and jumping all over my keyboard and being a wild beast. Yes.
We're not beasts of our nature. That is an appeal to a naturalism fallacy. No, it's not. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this is a problem that is persistent in our species. And it doesn't matter like what fucking political movement you join. It doesn't matter how well corroborated and well argued all of their points are. It doesn't matter how fucking utilitarian whatever your approach is. It doesn't matter like how much it benefits our species and society as a whole. You will always have narrow-minded fucking idiots who fall for shit like jingoism, nationalism, racism, xenophobia.
Yeah, and just
this
like...
will always be the case. And until you change it,
fucking
you're not going to achieve the change that you're aiming for.
Holy shit. She just fucking climbed up my back and dug her nails into me. Holy shit. I'm going to let her out of this room. This cat is like insane. No, sorry. No... You will always have that, and that's why you've got to you got to fight back against it as long as it exists, and you've got to like, again, create a society that socially disincentivizes that way of thinking, that is anti-fascist. Okay, look, I'm sorry, it's time for Antifa to rise up and take over the world. Okay, we need to have an anti-fascist society that you know, we don't imprison the fascists. We just look down our nose at them and scoff at them and go, ugh, fucking fascists.
I for one concur.
Yeah.
I concur. We need a off-left femboy ethno-state.
Yes.
State. What would you call that? Like, what is it, like homo-fascism, I think that's the term?
Homo-fascism.
I don't know. Whatever. We need to venerate femboys and the LGBTQ plus community to the highest degree, and until we do that, we're fucked. But when we achieve that, paradise. You just need to be gay or bi or curious, whatever the fuck your thing is.
Honestly,
that and you'll be happy.
I would argue that that's actually more achievable than some people might think, because I believe that sexuality and gender are more fluid than anything else, and I think everybody's at least a little bi-curious. I think everybody's got a little fucking, even the most straight people, you've at least thought of it at least once. Don't pretend you fucking haven't, okay? We're all a little gay. But no, I want
to address something that Galen has been asking in the chat. I've actually I think 7 years ago I had a couple conversations with him. Very fucking intelligent person.
Oh yes.
Problem solving collectively or as an individual. I would say it's total, in my, as far as my response to that goes, totally no shit statement, but it depends on the problem. If your problem is how do I, benefit myself or the people within my social sphere, then, oftentimes the best way to lead the people is to follow them and to just be in, other people's best graces as far as you can. But if you're talking about people in general, our species as a whole, if you're talking about reducing harm and improving living conditions to the best of our abilities, then I think the thing we can do is reduce harm and better those living conditions, but not, aim for some pie in the sky bullshit. Keep in mind that people think differently. So so I want to clarify that, because I think it matters a lot. I've noticed this with a lot of politicians when they run for office. Different people from different backgrounds have different values and thus perspectives. So if you argue with someone who's, say, conservative and you try to convince them of UBI, the best way to approach that is to argue it from a economic opportunity point of view, where it's oh, well, this is not to eradicate capitalism. This is to prolong it. And not only that, but also give people the ability to partake in it more than they do now. It depends on the person. And you could talk to somebody who's more socialist leaning, that, well, this, betters their living conditions.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about how should we go about this, I would say collectively, but be aware of the individual aspect of it, because people are not the same.
Right.
A lot of people have different backgrounds and as such totally different views. You have to appeal to what they usually think. As stupid as that is, you have to do it. At least if you're going to run for office. I would suggest doing that. I don't think Galen's going to run for office. I think...
Yeah.
I don't think he would find that appealing at all. But,
I agree with you.
I answered your question. If not, let me know and I'll attempt again.
Yeah. I agree with that, though. We absolutely need to, we need to tailor our arguments to who we're arguing against. And that's why, I think... a lot of people forget that. A lot of people just, this argument that convinced me isn't convincing this person, so therefore they're a lost cause. And I'm no, because everyone's convinced differently. That's why I don't buy into the idea that, I agree it's going to be hard to convince people, but I don't think people are unconvincible. I think you could convince most people if you just found the right argument for each person. And it's hard because, that involves a lot of individual, and this is why I advocate for individual leftists doing the work to make those arguments to those individual people, especially people that and the way they think, and learning how to tailor make your arguments so that we can convince each person. Because I do here's the thing. I believe good ideas tend to win out in the long run. That's why I like the open marketplace of ideas. I like the idea that we can, use good ideas to fight bad ideas. And I think there's a limit to that, because there's, some people will never be convinced of certain things. And there's some, bad ideas that are more dangerous than others, that are harder to defeat. But in the long run, I do believe that good ideas tend to defeat bad ideas. You just have to know how to defeat those bad ideas in each person. And that's why I believe that it's a possibility to continue doing the work to convince each individual person, so we get to a point where we have more and more people who are convinced and do realize the path forward.
So, lesson of the day being, be aware of people's environments. I mean, like, we're all shaped by our fucking upbringings and shit. So if you approach someone who's like, really conservative and Christian and shit, then like you're going to have to at some point argue in favor of whatever fucking dumb shit perspective they may have.
Yeah.
That's just like the nature of the beast. Like there's no way around that. If you want to convince someone, you have to appeal to them on some level.
You have a lot to meet of people, them where they're at.
They acknowledge realities that they don't like, but they're not gonna necessarily, join your cause.
Right. You got to meet people where they're at. And that's why, like, for example, if I'm talking to like a conservative Christian who believes that there's a God, I'm not going to tell them like, like we need to fight climate change because it's going to be the end of the world and it's going to destroy us, because they're not going to believe that. I'm going to be like, maybe we should take care of the fucking planet that God gave us, right? Why are we shitting on this beautiful gift of a fucking planet that your God supposedly fucking bestowed upon us and allowing it to fall to fucking shit? We should be taking care of it and treating it like the fucking...
It's because fuck you got mine. That's usually what it comes down to. It's just like, fuck you got mine. I have what I need. I have my little fucking laptop and I can watch porn on it. I can, use my iPhone to call my kids. I have, like this flat screen TV that I can just like turn off my brain and gawk at, throughout the remainder of the day. I have my beer. I have all my vices, whatever. And we all do. We all engage in that shit. We all like to turn our brains off. But when it gets to the extent that it's like that's, most of your existence, I think it gets really fucking harmful. And I think most people, unfortunately, do that. Most people don't want to really think about shit that they know is eventually going to bite them in the ass.
That's why, unfortunately, for some people, the only way to convince them is not be like, oh, well, we got to help these other people get more. You got to convince them, they're like, oh, well, fuck you, I got mine. You got to be like, well, is that enough? Is that enough? Couldn't you have better? Couldn't you have a better life? And I'll be perfectly fucking honest. When I started advocating for Bernie Sanders and, his type of policies and socialism and whatnot, it was mostly out of a self-interest of like, okay, what would benefit me the most? And I think for some people, you got to make that argument to them before you can make the argument that this will also benefit society and that's why it's good. Like, you got to convince people why it would benefit them, which is why, like, again, like, if you want to convince, like, a business owner of, like, Medicare for all, instead of telling them, oh, this, poor people can't afford healthcare, you tell them, why the fuck should business owners have that shit on their plate? Why should they have that burden of their workers' fucking healthcare? How fucked is that, dude?
It's pretty fucking disgusting how, like, it comes down to that. Like, you have to appeal to the, the monetary gain of a fucking businessman.
People
to,
are selfish.
Really convince them to vote a certain way in favor of, like, the well-being of their neighbor. But alas, that's the fucking case.
I think
it's kind of like what I mentioned before. It's like, a lot of people, they are aware of shit that's going on, but they don't want to think about it. So when you walk up to someone and you tell them, hey, let's do something about it, a lot of them are not going to join your cause. You have to incentivize them to do so by pointing out how it's going to affect them, or how, even better, how it's already affecting them.
Well, this is why class consciousness is so fucking important. This is why convincing people of how they're fucked by the system. See, people think, oh, I'm fine, I'm in a decent position, I don't need to, like, I've got mine, whatever. But you gotta convince them that it's not good enough. You gotta convince them that, no, the system is still fucking you. And you gotta convince them that, see, these people that are fighting for the system that it isn't doing enough for them, they're on the same side as you. You should be on their side because, like, you think you have enough, but you know what? You're still getting fucked. And you can point out to people the ways they're still getting fucked. You can point out, okay, you've got a nice fucking apartment and a laptop and whatever, but how the fuck can't you afford to buy a house the way your parents could when they were your age? Why the fuck can't you afford, to put away savings or whatever? Why are you getting so why is your job so shitty? Why do you have to go to work and do the at a company where the people who do the most work get paid the least? You point that shit out to people, and then they start to realize that these other people that are already fighting this battle, they are like me, because they're getting fucked by the system too, and they're actually on my side, and if we fight for this, it'll be better for everybody. And it's hard to convince people of that, but again, if you convince them that they have a stake in it, they're far more likely to get involved than just saying, oh yeah, you gotta fight for the people that are suffering. Because yeah, unless people are suffering themselves, they're not gonna care.
Yeah. So, how do I pronounce this? Is it Zale or
it's Zale?
This person's name. Zale. Okay, sorry. Zale. It's okay. I'm not defending the way things are. I'm just pointing out the reality of the situation and suggesting to somebody like Jamie that, like, hey, the best approach for you, setting aside our differences, setting aside whether or not I have hope or you don't, approach for you and your cause is to appeal to people and whatever bad qualities they inherently have as human beings. People are selfish. We are programmed to be like, resource gathering, like, oh, fuck you, got mine, I'll be fine, I just gotta fucking procreate and raise my offspring and then I'm good. That's inherent to our fucking species. What I'm suggesting is make good use of that.
Right.
Make good use of the fact that people have perspectives that are shaped by the environment they are brought up in, because you can actually appeal to people for the most part when it comes to like how they are brought up. Don't fucking just ignore that and dismiss them as being like, oh, well, they're just a lost cause. Like, yeah, maybe they're dumb shits, but they're fucking useful idiots.
Yeah.
If you want to have like a political movement or like some kind of like social equality movement, you have to bring in as many fucking people as possible, even the dumb people.
Wait.
I know you don't like being around them. Neither do I, despite you probably thinking that I'm one of them. I assure you I'm not.
Zale.
If you want to have a conversation, I'm fine with that. But, like, you have to bring those people in. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Zale, you seriously, you're gonna, like, accuse him of, like, weaponizing an idea for an ideology when you literally advocate for political
Jamie,
violence?
Can I head out for a cigarette real quick? Can I just go out and poison myself instead of enduring this dumb fucking idiocy for, like, 5 fucking minutes? Is that cool? I'll be back.
That's fine.
ASAP.
That's fine. We probably won't go much longer after you come back, but you can feel free.
Hey, you know what? Despite like tensions and shit, I've actually really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh yeah,
and
me too.
I would be down to talking to like 1 or 2 people after this. Yeah, I saw a couple people in the chat suggesting that, so I might drop into like a Discord server or just talk privately. We'll see.
If you want, I could bring a couple people in when you come back.
Yeah, sure. I'd be down to talk to some anons.
Dope. Okay, so Zale.
All right, BRB.
All right. So Zale, dude, you advocate for political violence against those who are impeding on our rights, those who are threatened to bring about fascism, but you don't think that it's a valid idea to, in your words, weaponize people's own selfishness and turn it back against them? What, like, how could you not advocate for that? Like, I would absolutely, yes, weaponize people's own selfishness against them. Yes, absolutely. People are selfish. People, only care about what affects them. So use that to our advantage. Yes, convince people of the people that are like, oh, I got mine. Convince them of, do you have yours? Or are you being fucked over same as the rest of us? Selfishness is a disease. Yeah, so turn it against people. Because again, like I said, there was a point in my life where I was like, you know what, I got mine, I'm fine, I don't give a fuck. And then there was a point where I was like, you know what, fighting for this eventual political outcome would actually help me in the long run. And then I came to the position of, not only would it help me, but it would help everybody, and that's actually kind of fucking valuable. Because that is a path to overcoming our own selfishness. It might not be the best path in the world, but, like, come on, like, realizing that, you know, we're selfish people, and, you know, in order to appeal to our human nature, we are going to have to appeal to that selfishness. That can erode that very selfishness. If you've ever questioned having more than you never had, what? If you ever questioned having more than you never had enough, Proverbs? I don't know what you're on about. That makes no sense. How does that make no sense? How does that make no sense? It worked for me. I mean, again, I've always been... Look, I'm not going to say that I haven't always been more empathetic in nature. I have, okay? But, like, I've also been of the mind that, like, you know what? Fuck other people, okay? Fuck everyone. I'm just going to pay attention to me and what will benefit me. And then once I started fighting for something that I knew would benefit me, and I started looking around and realizing how other people were fucked too, and how that could help other people who were fucked, it made me realize, it made me gain more perspective and be like, oh, I need to fight for this thing not just for me, but for everybody. Because I'm not the only one that's suffering. How does that not make sense? Do you post your email publicly? No, I've, I have, or I don't know if you're talking to me or Galen, but my Twitter DMs are open. Anyone can request DMs with me, and my Discord is open. But yeah, here, let's, actually, I should probably take this down. And we can take a look. All right, if people want to call in, I will limit anyone who calls in to like 5 minutes. But yeah, feel free to jump in the waiting room in the Discord, and we can bring a couple people on to ask Swag some questions, but they gotta be short, okay? If you want to come on, you have to come on knowing what you're gonna say, okay? Have a question prepared or whatever you want to talk about, and try to be concise. And yeah, let's because I've only got maybe like 40 more minutes for this stream, and then I want to end. So you can't get in the waiting room. Do you not have any roles? You should. Not the VIP waiting room. Get in the regular waiting room. Wait, where is the... Yeah, the call-in waiting room. Yeah. There you go. Whoa. Oops. Yo, Swag. Oh, you gotta get his headphones in. Yo.
Hello.
So do you want to jump in the,
Greetings, comrade.
Do you want to jump in my call-in room in my Discord?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, let's just jump in there.
See ya.
All right. Okay. So I'll bring it, like I said before, I'll bring a couple people in. I'll try to limit any calls to like probably like 5 minutes at most, because I maybe got another like 40 minutes for this at most. So if you call in, try to be specific, concise, you know, make your question. Don't just call in to ramble or whatever, because those tend to get boring quick. Here, let's bring in Realize, because he was in here first. Yo, what up, Realize? Yo. You fucking piece of shit.
Hey now, now. Sing this corrosion to me. Hello, Real Ice. Are you there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here just trying to...
Well, you sound like garbage, yeah.
Whoa.
Where's my ear?
Yeah, I'm just...
You're like, you sound all like robotic or whatever. Okay, what?
I'll be back.
Okay, I'll bring in origin of language then first. What up, origin of language?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. How's it going?
I'm doing well, thanks, and hope you guys are doing well as well.
Hell yeah. What's your question for Sweg?
Yeah, I do find it interesting that you, first of all, I appreciate you watching my video, just to get that out of the way. But anyway, I find it interesting that you have this position that you feel like everything is doomed, essentially, and that when it comes to politics and how the world is eventually going to end. What I want to know specifically is do you feel that when Galen asked you the question, do you think we fix things individually or collectively? I was saying maybe, do you think, let me ask you this, do you think that maybe if we fix something collectively, I think it would be better that you should figure out yourself on an individual level, and you should also figure out, like, if there's a problem you see with society or in any area, it's best to understand as perfectly as well as you can that area without any sort of biases or any sort of ideological biasy that's kind of constricting you of seeing it from other perspectives. That maybe you should understand that more and know it well before you try to influence it in a collective way. Does that make any sense?
Sure. I mean, I think any person has to do that to be like effective in any kind of like social cause. It's difficult to like, let's say like, you have like somebody who runs for office, and in their private life it's just like total shambles. It's all fucked. Probably going to reflect on like, how they convince people, because like you do have to have a lot of confidence. You do have to have a lot of like arguments and evidence prepared if you're going to convince people. So yeah, obviously, like if you're going to be a part of like any collective cause, you do have to sort your fucking shit out. I'm not, the most eloquent person at responding to this, but hopefully you understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I get it. It's just that when you have this position that politics, you agree that the Democratic Party, the GOP, they're all pretty much in cahoots with the corporate interests and people that want to keep us divided as people. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like you've noticed this, no doubt, in like any election that comes around. There's always some kind of like hot button issue where it's like, oh well, these people, they're doing this, and oftentimes I find that like not even always, not even often, but like always, it's like the far conservative people who do that. Of course, you do have like Democrats who engage in that shit too, where it's like, you do have jingoism and shit. But for the most part, it's always like some divisive shit where it's like, okay, well, these people are just different. They're just inherently different. And because of that, you just have to like disregard them and, whatever conditions they live under, because, it's for, a better cause. Like, oh, well, you love America, right? You want to make America great again, don't you? We used to be awesome, but then, these people came around. All these brown people from like Mexico came and fucked shit up. So, now we have to intervene, and we can only do that collectively. So I think like even people who have bad reasoning are aware enough to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's always going to be the parties are always going to have some sort of scapegoat to kind of other someone so that they have us, the average people. And this is something I've always said. I think the media and the politicians, and they're so ingrained with controlling how we view each other that if they keep us at each other's throats, the average American citizen, then they have the power. They have the influence in the media. They have the politicians. They have the corporate interests. It's like, that's why I don't think, I'm kind of like with you here, Swega, that there really is no way we can really fix this because they have all the money and the influence. And so my thing is, and this is what I was telling you in the chat, I think the best we can possibly do is help each other, help our neighbors out as best as we can in the areas where we can. And I think that may sound bleak, but it's like, and I sent you also in the chat that this is like what Albert Camus, the absurdist philosopher, said in The Plague, the novel. It's that if you're being surrounded by a plague, and I actually made a video on this when I covered on my YouTube channel, it's that when COVID was still rampant, if the plague is destroying people and us, and we adhere to the logic of it, then we're just going to destroy ourselves. And so he says this: we should strive to be healers, the logic of healing each other with the limited resources that we have, rather than adhering to the logic of the plague, which is destroying each other. So that's what I think, and that was what I wanted to help you with, because you seem, I greatly admire your honesty, and I greatly admire how you view things. So I just wanted to help you out there. So just wanted to see how you got to that point.
Cheers. I mean, like, I'm just one person. Like, I can't compare myself to like every other person that I've ever met and be like, okay, well, here's how I differ, and here's how I, tackle this from like a rational point of view. Because like, I don't think that I'm, rational at all times. I think that, I can fall for some of this shit if like, I'm fed enough misinformation. But I do think that like, something like the internet can definitely help, but also be used against a good cause. So if you have something like, the plague, you do have shit like, for instance, like COVID denial. Like, people just denying the existence of it, but then, it affects, somebody they care about, and they're like, okay, well, this is not fake, but it's fake in the sense that it's severe. And when it actually gets severe, it's like, okay, well, it's severe, but it's, these other people's fault. It's the fault of the Chinese. They did this. It's the China virus. Fuck them. And so of course, like you have shit like Asian hate crimes skyrocketing. So, like I think the best thing we can do is utilize something like the internet to the best of our abilities to keep people informed and actually show them as much evidence as possible. And it's difficult to do so if like the best thing we have is like, okay, well, this authority said so. People don't fall for that. So I don't know how to get around that. But I do think the key to like convincing people and keeping them as rational as possible when it comes to something like a plague or any kind of disease, as an example, would be to keep them informed. I don't know the best way to do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually, when I mean the plague and what Camus means by the plague isn't the literal plague as well. This also just means like, it can mean anything. It can mean an aspect of us as humans. It could be like what we were talking about earlier about how a party will demonize the immigrants, or they'll demonize transgender people. It's like, don't adhere to the logic. It essentially is an analogy of like, don't adhere to evil, don't adhere to being a part of that sort of thing. But also, I agree with you that it's good to use the internet for what we have, what we're capable of, to spread ideas. That's good, of course. But also, this is kind of something I mentioned with Paul Zigo when I debated him on his no confidence. If we got to a point where we were pushing a movement or something that could challenge the media and the politicians, they have the power of the media. They would silence whatever movement they feel was an actual threat regardless. So it's kind of like, or they would slander it. They've been doing that forever. It's just, so I'm just kind of like, it seems like, I mean, I understand your drive to wanting to make change if there's a possibility to do it, but because I used to be like that. I used to be part of the Bernie stuff and all, but I eventually just came to the awareness that
so let me ask you this though, like, where do you find yourself right now?
When it just comes to politics?
Yeah, politics or in general, like when it comes to like convincing people or keeping them informed, or just, like any kind of like betterment for society that you would want. Like, what's your attitude on that? Because it seems to me like, you and Paul differ on that strongly based on what I saw in the debate you had.
Yeah.
So like, hear you elaborate on that, and actually like it's like, sure. I know like where you were coming from when compared to me.
Yeah, sure. My whole thing is, I think I said this a minute ago, is that since I am aware we cannot make a change to the system, that we can't influence it to make it for whatever we think is better, I therefore think the best way, and like I said, this may seem bleak, but all we can do is just help our fellow neighbor and each other as best as we can to what the law and what we have available to us. I mean, that's really much all you can do. And this seems bleak, but in a way, it's kind of heroic. I mean, it's kind of like what Kierkegaard, the philosopher, did with the Knight of Faith, and which is what existentialist philosophers actually went on to add to, is that if you have someone who is aware that you are living in an absurd universe where where there's no moral like absolutes or anything, the best thing you can do is live to your own purpose, what you believe in, and that in itself is a heroic action against the absurdity of existence. So I view myself Kierkegaardian in that Knight of Faith sort of vein, but when it comes to like left or right politics, like I don't label myself that. I think that's part of the problem. I think that's a tribal false dichotomy dialectic. I don't agree to that sort of thing. I think that causes the problems because we other each other based on, are you left? Are you right? It's like, I'm neither. Oh, you're moderate? No, I'm not moderate either. I don't play to that. I think that is dividing us.
I think there's a problem there because the far right is fascist in nature, and it is something that needs to be fought back against. And so if we just like ignore all politics, like I get where you're coming from because I like the tribalistic, the political tribalism is a fucking problem. It absolutely is. But like if you just act like the political spectrum doesn't really matter, you know, then I feel like it's easier for people to be pulled into fascism and not even know what the fuck it is.
Well, I mean, I understand that. I mean, I think the best way we can try to alleviate stuff like that is, and I don't know if many people think this way anymore, but people really need to read. They really need to be striving for learning and being open to themselves. But also,
oh God, and Galen doesn't like you? Damn. I'm sorry, Galen's always telling me to read.
Well, yeah, I mean, reading.
I mean,
know
like, okay,
reading. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Now, I was just going to point out that, like, I had something kind of similar happen to me, but I actually did approach Galen with, like, advice for what to read up on.
Yeah.
So I do think, like, Galen has a lot of good suggestions.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Galen says he's collecting audiobooks for me. Dope.
That's good. Yeah, because Galen actually... and he was the one who actually got me into Kierkegaard and a few other authors that I'm currently diving into. But my whole point is when you read, you actually enhance your memory. You enhance your cognitive abilities because if you read, and I can't remember, I don't have studies. I think there might be, but I haven't read them. But I have this idea, and this may just be intuition on my part. So it's when you read more, you're able to listen to yourself more because when you're reading, you're inside your head, you're in the internal voice. And when you're able to understand yourself better by hearing your own voice, you're able to you're better able to understand yourself. And I think if you're better to understand yourself.
I think people vary, like, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like, I think people vary, like, really fucking differently on that. Because you do have a lot of people who, like, read a lot of, like, people who, like, read the Bible every fucking day and, read, conservative propaganda and shit. And those people are not going to really, like, they're not going to be, malleable to, like, good ideas or shit. They're just going to be stuck in their ways and just have like, vast knowledge about, the stuff they've been spoon-fed by, what they've been brought up to believe.
It's interesting you brought that up because I would actually at some point, maybe not, obviously not now, but I would like to have a discussion with you, a talk with you about actually Christianity and stuff because I would argue, I wouldn't need to argue. I would say that majority of Christians today don't even read the Bible. They don't.
Oh, no,
like,
they don't.
What they
you don't need to argue that.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. I was a Christian. Yeah, I never read the Bible. I just believed what I was told about it.
Yeah, that's, and I actually know why that's been the case in America for the past more than half a century, more than over a century. It's because of a tradition thing that emerged in America, but I don't want to go into that right now because that would take a while. So if you're ever open,
I would say that it's yeah, definitely. I mean, like, we could do that. I'd be down, but
cool.
My view on that is just kind of like I kind of believe the same thing that, like, what Carlin said when he talked about the Bible. It's more like a America's like favorite theatrical prop than something that people actually live by.
Yeah.
That's interesting because Harold Bloom, who's my favorite literary critic, he actually wrote in his book, The American Religion, that, and this is where he kind of lays the case how the American Christianity that we have here in America, how it's very distinct from European Christianity or Christianity from the history, is that people in America, they treat the Bible as if it's a talisman, as if you say it, that automatically means you are right. It's like it influences reality just by mentioning it. That's unique to America, surprisingly. So it's really interesting that Carlin said something like that, because I don't remember hearing him say that.
Yeah, I think it was something that he said. I could be totally off on this, but I think he said that during his last stand-up special.
Oh, yeah, and Galen just mentioned that other people need to get on, so I'm sorry I'm hogging the airtime.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I mean, like, it was cool talking to you, and if you want to, like, have a discussion about any of this, like, I like I said, I'd totally be up for it.
No problem. I actually sent you a message on Twitter if you read it, so there you go.
All right, will do.
All right, thank you guys so much.
All right.
Peace out.
See you soon. All right. We'll bring Realize back. You got one more chance, Realize. All right. You better have your audio fixed this time.
After this, I want to talk to they who shall
Zale.
not be named, because yes, that.
Yeah. All right. What's your question, Realize?
Yeah, I wanna be because Swegta is Swedish. Want to ask him if he's ever heard of the Swedish village in California. It's called Kingsburg.
I have actually. I've looked at the Wikipedia page like 5 years ago. I don't remember any of it, but I recall looking into it.
Oh, into Kingsburg?
Yeah, or I don't know if it was Kingsburg. It was like some small, tight-knit community of like Swedes and maybe like Norwegians.
Yeah. I've done like a lot of swim team through high school. I don't even know how my body's not even ruined from all that work. Yeah, I've been to their high school a lot. Their mascot is, of course, the Vikings.
Damn.
Yeah.
The Vikings, yeah. Is that Swedish village, dude? Is that? Do you have anything else you wanted to discuss, or is that
Yeah, but basically how the Nordic weather is affected by climate change.
Oh.
Okay, well, I can tell you this. It's fucking hot as shit outside, and it's not snowing as much as it used to when I was a kid. But aside from that, like, it's not, a geologist. I can't, do, like, some fastidious research where I'm like, okay, well, I can tell you, like, definitively how it's changed. This is all anecdotal, but, based on my experience, I have noticed a change, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Like, what was the peak today? Or the peak of this
today,
year?
We use Celsius, so I don't know how to convert that to Fahrenheit, but it was like a 25 degrees Celsius, which is not too bad, but I think it got up to like 35, 36 Celsius a few days ago, which
I think that's somewhere around 85 F.
It's quite a lot. You have to keep in mind that, like, this is Swedish climate. This is not, like Cali. So obviously there's going to be like, people are going to look at that and scoff and be like, oh, what the fuck ever, it's like whenever I go live and I mention that it's hot as shit outside, somebody's like, oh, well, wait until you fucking get to Australia, mate. It's like, okay, well, I'm not there. I live in a location where, like, it's supposed to be way fucking cooler than it actually is.
Okay, I looked it up. It's 35 C is about 95 F. Yeah, the peak of this week was 108, which is like 42 C.
Fuck. Oh my god. Oh, that's fucking painful. I don't know how.
Indeed.
Well, people can't just deal with it. That's the unfortunate part. And for some reason, we seem to have a lot of coincidences with climate changing and weather getting way colder than it usually is and way hotter than it usually is. So it's getting like way more fucking sporadic and extreme, but you know, let's not think about it.
Yeah, from what I understand, because the Arctic gets so hot, actually pushes all the cold air way further down. Like that's why Texas froze so hard in March or February.
Well,
yeah.
Fuck Texas, yo. They deserved it. Wait, has it been long enough? Can we make those jokes? No. No. I wish the people of Texas all the best.
I'll say this. Fuck Texas, but you know the people for Texas, I sympathize.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, you know, they're just people. I don't like hold, you know, the decision making of like their politicians against all of them. And even if it comes down to like, well, a lot of them voted for this shit. It's like, okay, well, not all of them did. A lot of them actually know better.
And even the ones that don't know better, it's still like it's you know it's still fucked. You know, they're still people. Anyway, unless you have a final meme, realize we'll probably move on.
Yeah, dude. In Sweden, do you have those like really tall, those really giant evergreen trees?
I've lived all across Sweden, and I've yet to find a tree large enough to, you know, confidently say that yes, we do.
Damn.
We probably do. It's, you know, somewhere, but I've yet to find it. It's like the fucking tree in like Ocarina of Time. You know, you have to find it.
Yeah, you don't have real trees over there.
Yeah. Here
we
in
just
California,
have icases.
Yeah.
Here in California, we got like the giant ass redwoods. I mean, they're so big that people for a while. Yeah, they're like so huge. People didn't believe there was any such thing as monster-sized trees.
Yeah, but then, you know, they come across like basically an ant, and they're like, oh, okay, fuck, I guess we do.
A what?
An ant, yo. Those giant tree people
like the
from
tree people from fucking
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't really understand Lord of the Rings stuff.
Neither do I.
Oh.
It sucks. Fuck Lord of the Rings. It's garbage.
Hey.
Wait, is this something we should have argued about?
I think I just popped a fucking vein, Jamie.
I don't actually hate Lord of the Rings, but I don't think it's all that great. I've been bored by most of the movies.
Fellowship of the Ring is the shit. Anything past that, it's like, eh. I mean, like, okay, so the fucking the big battle they have in the second film, that was cool. But beyond that point, I'm just kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I agree. No, the first one is always the most interesting movie, and then I get progressively less interested, and I always fall asleep at least once, like watching any of those movies, because like they're long, but they're not bad. I just they're not my favorite thing. Anyway, we should probably move on to the next caller. Thank you, Realize, for calling in.
I got one final meme.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay, for your like 300K sub special. You should like dress up in a Viking costume and just eat like a big ass lamb leg.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe I'll do that. I'll have to like be able to grow a nice beard. Like if I just do that with like, you know, the fucking soft boy face that I have now, it's not gonna have the same impact. But I'll consider it.
All right.
All right. See you later. I guess we'll
see you. Realize.
I hope we'll talk privately later tonight.
All right. Peace, yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, let's bring Zale in.
So
let's
yeah, let's get some fucking acrimony going.
All right. What up, Zale?
Shit, you guys are loud. One sec.
You're not even prepared, yo? What the fuck?
I was prepared. Calm yourself, woman.
Bullshit. You ain't prepared. You're full of shit, yo. You're sitting there jerking off right now, dude. You got your dick in your hand.
I'll have you know, telling totally reasonable women to calm down is part of toxic masculinity.
I know, right?
Was müssen diese meinen Shorts laufen?
You sound kind of far away from the mic, yo.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, actually, on the headpiece. But first off, I just want to say that I don't think Swegta is stupid, naive maybe.
You're still really quiet. You should speak up or speak closer to the mic or something.
First off, I don't think Swegta is necessarily...
Oh, that's way better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think Swegta is stupid. Misguided, maybe. Naive, maybe. But I don't consider you stupid. I just think you have an opinion that you don't want to push one way or the other on a topic, because typically one way or the other kind of ends up being the same path in a lot of these discussions.
So how do you mean?
So, much like Jamie said, I advocate for political violence, but I'm advocating for political violence against people who actively stormed our Capitol building and who are actively
So against people who do bad things, right? You advocate for doing bad things against people who do bad things. How the fuck is weaponizing people's own selfishness against them somehow less morally justifiable than that?
I wouldn't even know how to compare the two, but the thing is that weaponizing someone's selfishness ultimately is inspiring them to have a more selfish attitude.
Not necessarily.
I don't have enough. I need more. That was your words, not mine.
Well, because what I said was, if you incentivize people, that yes, if you get people to realize that they have a stake in the fight too, that'll get them fighting. Don't you agree? Like if people are only gonna join the fight because of their own selfishness, wouldn't you rather use that selfishness to convince them to join the fight?
I would rather them using something else.
I would too, but for some people, that's the only way.
I mean, it's kind of like what I said. Like, I'm not in favor of this being the case. I'm just saying that, like, there's utility to it. And I think it'd be foolish not to use it to its fullest potential. I mean, like, if you, like, you know, like Jamie said, if like somebody's like attacking you and you could turn to, like, you know, the person next to you who's totally like indifferent supposedly and tell them like, hey, by the way, fun fact, this person fucked your mom. You know, like, that's useful.
Or he's coming after you next.
You can utilize idiots even though they are idiots.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. Are either of you big readers? I'm just going to put this out there because this is the initial point that I was going to talk about.
Do I sound like I read a lot, honestly?
I don't want to assume. That's why I asked.
Okay, well, thank you. I don't. I do read occasionally, but a lot of it is like autobiographies and, like, you know, comedic shit. Like I'm reading Napalm and Silly Putty, but like I usually, when it comes to, like, you know, more I guess cerebral stuff, I listen to audiobooks, so I don't read much.
Okay, so I mean, audiobooks are fine because both of them do exist on audiobook. I will say they are both slogs. They're at least like 700 pages a pop, but there are some like PDFs of the more crucial and meaty parts of the books. But the two books are called How Propaganda Works and How Fascism Works, both by Jason Stanley. I've read them both, and the thing is that you were pointing out some good points tonight with people using fear, people using paranoia, people using these issues, but there's a lot more to fascism than just that. And the thing is that that's where a lot of my political discourse comes from, is being more proactive in pushing gassy political concepts. Convincing Swegta over to Jamie's side of the argument is not only possible, I see it as it's just going to happen. It's an ultimatum. Eventually Swegta will come over to the side of Jamie in due time. However, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are never going to see eye to eye with us, and that's kind of the problem with some leftists. And not to shit on Vosh,
okay,
but
so,
I think a lot of leftists are inspired
I feel like you're giving a lot of examples, but like, what is the contention you have with me? Like, what is specifically that you don't like about what I said?
I feel that ultimately the really big issue I'll have with you, because I'm going to keep this short because we have the 5-minute rule, is that a lot of your argument was, well, convince me. There is plenty of things to convince of yourself.
Well, that's not an argument. That's me, like, actually asking, you know, my opponent to, like, hey, you know, like, I'm all ears. Like, bring it. Here's my point of view. I know yours, but, like, beyond that, please, like, whatever you got. I'm encouraging a good argument. That's not an argument on my part.
Are you finished? I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Okay. The concept of convince me of things ultimately boils down to a point of basically what's in it for me. Not necessarily materialism, but the idea that I am going to be unwilling to move for something if I cannot see a benefit to myself. Convince me why this is worth my time. Rather than I am willing to put forth an effort, even if there's no benefit to me, in order to perpetuate somebody else's existence, to help other people. And this is kind of one of the things that the right will kick the left's ass on every time, is that the right has a built-in martyr complex because of their Christian roots. Leftists just don't seem to have that, which is why they kill us on that very issue all the time. Your answer when someone says this is a good idea or this is the path forward should not inherently be, but what's the time frame? What are all these nitpicks? The question should be, I will take this first step with you and we will hammer out the details as we move on, because yes, this benefits the most. It does the most.
But I'm already at that point. I'm already doing whatever the fuck, Jamie's doing. I'm already engaging in the same type of voting even.
There's more than voting. What have you done in your public works?
Public works? What the fuck am I? Like what? Like what? Dude, I speed run video games. Like, yeah, I talk about politics. I try to argue my points. I try to convince people. Like, I put out a fucking video where, like, I condemned transphobia, and even in that video, I acknowledged that this would be highly divisive for my audience. So, yeah, I am, like, arguing. I am laying out, evidence and trying to, like, convince people to see things in a way that I think is more beneficial and more, inclusive to people that I care about. So yeah, like, I am doing shit, but like what, should I run for fucking office? Like, what are you asking me?
You don't have to run for office, although that would be the ideal idea, because then we would have a progressive person in
if
power.
you look into my past, like, there's no fucking way that I could ever hold office.
Yeah, that's the same reason I can't run
possible.
for office either. Same reason Vosh can't run for office. Like, I'm sorry, those of us who have been, like, online content creators, especially edgy shitlords on the internet, like, none of us are getting elected to anything. It's not happening.
It was the ideal situation. I didn't say it was the necessary situation.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Right. Okay. Well, let me ask you again. Like, what should I do then?
You can lend support to local organizations. For example, I lived in a right state for a long time. I was in a college town in a right-wing state. I joined up with a group called Generation Action, which was a women's group movement, and I worked basically to help them with media stuff, because as a man, I didn't feel I should have any officerial positions. My job was to help out. There was no benefit to me. There was really nothing I could do to move myself through. I went to support them because I believed in women having a higher voice and supporting that group. I believe that they also provided contraceptive care and sex ed to a lot of schools as a third-party group. You can do stuff like that. You can join these organizations. Okay. You can supply yourself to your local community. You get your name out there. You do these public works. You make yourself be seen in action. Because here's the biggest thing that right-wingers love to hit us with. Lefties just sit around and beg for stuff to be the handout. So you turn that on them. You give them.
It's basically like the do-nothing Democrats line.
It's actually worse than do-nothing Democrats, because Democrats are actually establishment shills. They perpetuate the system.
Right, but you see what I'm fucking getting.
Doing nothing is worse than doing something.
Right, okay, well, I don't think that I'm doing nothing.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, like, I'm not doing, like,
dude,
local
I
advocacy.
convince people. I convince people to vote more progressively. I vote myself. I am obviously partaking in the political process, and I'm doing so in a way that I think is beneficial to society as a whole.
For a lot of us, that's all we can do. I just argue that people... The one step I think everyone needs to try to take beyond that is, like, convince people who don't already agree with you. Try to go around and, like, like convince people of the policies that need to be enacted. Convince people of what the problems are. And I'm sorry, like, I do think that, like, convincing people that they have a stake in the fight too is a good way to go about that. Convincing people that, no, this does affect you. You can't just sit back and be like, oh, well, this doesn't affect me, so I don't care. Like, yeah, would we like people to be less selfish and to take up a cause for someone other than themselves? Sure. But, like, in order to get stuff accomplished, we're going to need to align ourselves with people who are just looking out for themselves. But as long as they realize that they are on the same side as us in this fight, that's what we need to be fighting for. We need to make people realize that they're on our side and they benefit from joining us.
Right. Well, let's bring it back to, like, the disagreement we had about, the way that I phrased things or what I said.
Oh, I could care less about the way you phrase things. That's just pissing in the wind. We could talk about faith.
I mean, obviously you do. You fucking you obviously fucking do, based on what you said in the chat.
Oh, come now. Chat comments mean nothing. Let's talk about faith, actually. Why do you seem so convinced?
What are you, like a Bond villain? Okay, all right, go ahead. I don't know what's up with this tone you're taking with me, but okay, let's proceed.
I know Zale's a silly dude.
It sounds like it, dude. Like if you said we are not so different, you and I, in the tone you're using right now, it would be ideal in a fucking Bond film.
We are not so different, you and I, Mr. Swegta.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh well, let's talk about fate.
Let's talk about faith.
Flip a coin and load a gun. What's gonna happen?
Why do you personally, and this is reaching out, I'm going to be nice. Why do you think that you have run out of hope personally? Like, what really was the point in time where you stopped and just looked down and went, I'm done? Like, what was the catalyst specifically? If you can you remember it?
Well, it's not like one event, like a catalyst where, like, you know, something happens and then I'm like, you know, fuck this shit. It's more of like a gradual process of growing up in a society where, like, I noticed that a lot of people are easily led into supporting bad ideas that are really fucking harmful to people that I care about. And not even, like, just people that I care about, but to just, like, my fellow man. And constantly being aware of that obviously drains a lot of whatever fucking hope you may have. So it's difficult for me to look past that and be like, okay, well, we're going to be okay. Even given the fact that, you know, we have this huge climate crisis knocking on our door.
By the way, nothing of what I believe just says like, oh, we're gonna be okay. I'm just trying to fight to make us as okay as we can, you know.
And even my political philosophy is that nothing is going to get better with the system concurrent. I equate it to, it's like being in a car that's hurling towards the cliff, real fucking close. And the two people in the front seat are just arguing with each other over nothing, and they cannot see the fact that they've driven off the road and are heading for the cliff. And so some people would say, well, you know, obviously we have to grab the wheel. We have to steer the car away. And that requires radical change. Now, unfortunately, the more radical something gets, the more energy you have to put forth, the bigger the cost is. Nothing happens for free.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, yeah. So with that, what I mean is when people have no more hope, and I was religious for a very long time. I grew up in a very religious household. I actually considered being a minister for a while until I was abused by someone in the church. And I ended up, you know, kind of basically losing my faith. That was the big catalyst. And one of the things that worked for me personally was inherent suffering of being told for so long that this was the way and the truth and the light, and then being betrayed ultimately and having basically cast out and feeling I had a fruitless existence. And within that suffering, driven my change, my evolution, my desire to look into new things, and there was anger in there too. That's what I mean when I say that hope is built by the self. We don't look to others for hope, not ultimately. I mean, we might get it from someone else. We might be inspired, but ultimately hope comes from ourselves, and that typically is achieved through some great tribulation we have to go through. So for me, it was being basically betrayed and abandoned by everything I believed in, and then suffering with that existential dread until I found a new course. But ultimately, it was me who drove the change, and that's kind of what leftists need to get behind. Discussion and argument is fine, but ultimately it's going to be us marching into the system and taking the control for ourselves that's going to drag us back from the edge. And that will be great tribulation. That's where we get our hope. Our hope is that if we work selflessly now, we can save someone else down the end. And just for me personally, I would happily lay down and die for a future that I would never see if it meant that my grandchildren would live in harmony and peace.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of the problem that I kind of had
Right.
initially with Swegta.
Okay, so
it kind of sounds like you're
wait,
more
hold
like
on.
I want to have a guarantee today versus tomorrow.
No, not at all.
Okay. Correct me.
Well, I mean, you saw the broadcast, so
Yeah, no, he never said that.
really, what is the point of contention between you and me? Because it seems like thus far we are on the same page as far as, like, you know, action goes, but when it comes to, like, our attitudes, it's just different. Like, I'm already partaking
that's
in
just
the
how
system.
it's gonna be.
I'm already fucking joining Jamie in the battle.
This is the thing. This is the problem. Like a lot of people don't realize, like, we are gonna have different attitudes. I don't care. I don't care what people's motives are or what their attitudes are, as long as they understand, like, what the right path forward is. And, like, we got to be able to.
Okay, let me just ask you this though. Like, if you think the problem here though is that, and I'm addressing, you know, not you, Jamie, but like, if you think the problem is that, like, you know, my attitude just kind of stinks, then I mean, like, would it not behoove you to fucking approach me in, like, a more charitable way where it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be hyper antagonistic
Good
and
faith.
constantly pick apart every fucking syllable this person says. Yeah, just be good faith, because I mean, like, I promise you, you'll convince more people. Your cause will be better off because of it if you actually take that approach.
I spoke in earnest when I told you that what you lack cannot be taught. I cannot give you what you need. And sure,
right, but I mean, like, you still stand a better chance at convincing me if you don't act so fucking antagonistic towards me, because like we're already on the same page, so there's no fucking need for that.
You boy.
I kind of agree. Like,
is that the issue? Do you not like the fact that I was condescending to you? Is that your major
Actually,
issue?
I don't like it when people condescend me for some fucking reason that doesn't jive well with me, dipshit.
Dude, that's kind of my that was kind of my problem.
Fragile little
Dude,
Fabergé egg.
Dude, that was my problem with
But
Paul, right? Zale,
is that I was condescending to you.
Zale, you were there, right? You saw, like, that was my biggest problem with Paul. We couldn't have a conversation because he wouldn't take me seriously, and he just wanted to condescend to everything I fucking said, right? I'm saying what Swegta's saying here is, like, if you want to, like, convince someone that they don't know what they're talking about, or that, you know, they're wrong about something, it's best to just try and be charitable and try to not, like, antagonize, because
there's nothing. Why would I try to be nice why would I try to sell a concept I don't have?
It's not even
no, that's
about
fine.
being nice.
That's fine, because what you're saying there...
It's just like about like having a fucking sense of, like, decorum for 5 fucking seconds when you correct someone on something.
I'm sorry,
like, instead of riffing on, like, the words that I don't know, you could just explain them to me. It's kind of like how, like, when Jamie used a fucking term that I was, you know, unaware of when it comes to, like, the definition of it, I asked for the fucking definition. I wasn't a fucking, like, smarmy cunt about it. I just asked, like, hey, I don't know what this means. Can you explain it? And the second that I did, you were just kind of like, "Pah, this fucking person doesn't even know what this means." It's like, well, yeah, I don't, and I'm not going to pretend as though I do when I fucking don't.
I was legitimately in shock that you didn't know what a ratchet was.
No, like, he didn't know what the ratchet effect was, because that was something else.
Neither did fucking Jamie just a few days ago.
Yeah,
what the fuck's
I didn't know
point?
what that was until Paul brought it up to me either. No, I think...
Okay, first off, Jamie, let's stop using what Paul says. Paul doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
No, but
on pretty much anything.
No, I brought it up because I brought it up because it was an example I was using that had to do with what we were talking about. The idea that...
Is it an actual thing, or is it just something that Paul pulled out of his ass?
No, it is an actual thing. It's the idea that, like, no matter that, as the political pendulum swings, it'll always swing further to the right than it does to the left.
Okay.
I don't agree with that. Okay. I think it's dumb.
Yeah, political pendulum theory.
I mean,
sorry, digressing. Hold on. Political pendulum theory is just bunk on so many levels, and
it is.
Ego couldn't pour piss out of a boot if the instructions were written on the heel.
It is, and that was my point. That like, rather than viewing it as a pendulum.
Setting that aside, sorry, I hate to interrupt you, Jamie, but like setting that aside, what's the fucking deal? This is what I'm getting at. What's the fucking deal? Like, what's wrong with just like asking? Like, we're already in agreement, like 99% so far. I'm asking this person, like, hey, please convince me. I want to be on your team. I'm coming at this with, like, you know, good faith. I'm being as charitable as possible to Jamie. We don't agree on everything. Occasionally there may be tension, but, you know, I have fucking good intentions. So does she. So, like, you know, and when it comes to, like, our dialogue, if there's something that I don't understand, I'll ask for clarification. I think that's a good thing to do. It's not something that people should hold against that person, especially if you want to convince people to be on your side. You're not going to convince people to join your cause by being a dick.
Okay, so first and foremost, I just want to make a point that I did start this conversation entirely in earnest. And
no, sure, but in the chat, you were a little antagonistic.
Oh, yes, I know. I'm such a horrible person. I'm antagonistic. I'm sorry, I'm not a good salesman.
I'm not saying you're a horrible person. I'm saying you're just, like, not even, like, a good person when it comes to, like, dialogue surrounding this.
I hurt your feelings, yes.
Okay.
Well, I apologize for any offense upon your feelings on my part of being a little more brusque than Jamie. Happy?
I still think very fucking low of you, honestly.
Well, that's fine. I think nothing of you. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's keep it that way.
See, we can both do this. The difference is I'm just a slightly more intelligent than you on a variety of subjects.
Damn.
Mainly.
Okay. Okay. Is that like why your fucking nose sounds so fucking stuffy? Because like you just keep sniffing your own farts? Is that it?
No, but God did ruin a perfectly good asshole when he put teeth in your mouth.
Okay. All right.
I apologize, Swegta. I'm emotionally constipated. I haven't given a shit in days.
Okay. So do you have anything else?
Do you get this from
on?
like a website? Do you have like a notepad file with a bunch of like generic insults that you use against people?
No, unlike you, I'm just witty.
All right.
I think that I'm dangerous.
Dude, like this is fucking. This is something that I looked forward to for a while because I know for a fact that like whenever you talk to people and there's like an audience tuning in and it's a political discourse, it could be someone who like picks apart like any syllable you fucking say, and as soon as you bring them in, it's just kind of like, oh well, you're a dum-dum. Like, okay, well, what the fuck ever?
I didn't say that. I honestly asked you some very important questions on political theory. I even.
All right, well, ask them again. You know, considering that I'm so fucking, you know, beneath you, or sorry, not even beneath you, nothing. Explain that shit to me again. Rephrase it in a way that, like, you know, your common village idiot can understand.
Why do I need to explain it to you?
Because you're in a voice channel after you waited to talk to me.
Zale,
like you specifically waited to talk to me about this. How? What?
Zale, ask a question, or I'm gonna move on.
Dude, the voice channel you were in is literally called "Call-in Waiting Room." You waited there for like 20 fucking minutes.
I waited for 10 minutes.
Okay, ask your question, and then we're gonna move on.
I have literally already asked my question. He's literally just too stupid to remember it.
Okay.
Like a goldfish.
Okay, well then ask it again. Refresh my memory.
I asked you if you read books or if you like to read books. You said no, you prefer audiobooks. And I said, well, that's fine, because what I'm going to talk about is also an audiobook. And it is the two books are How Fascism Works and How Propaganda Works. So I feel that both of you could really use some insight into the topics on fascism, because you guys brought up some few good points, but you didn't seem to bring up all
does one of them mention condescend any person who even agrees with you in hopes that they will, you know, even more agree with you? Is that like one of the lessons taught?
I don't know why you're so hardlined on tone policing and being offended. I know it's probably because you're a paper skin, but I'm sure you can figure it out.
It's not about tone policing. It's about pointing out the dumb shit you said in the chat for like an hour.
You are. I know, it's really up in your craw, isn't it? You Fabergé egg. Perfectly beautifully ornate on the outside.
It's basically like,
alright, dude.
If I just act as annoying as possible and piss this person off, then I win. Yay me. Yeah. Yay. Okay, so it's like, okay, well, what have you done for your cause? You're gonna riff on me for not being politically active enough, for not having the best approach. What the fuck about you? Like, you read a couple books and you're gonna walk in here and fucking, you know, fart and sniff and then be like, oh, by the way, we can talk about fate. We're not so different, you and I, Mr. Bond. Like, dude, you're a fucking jackass. You're just like this pompous ass fucking doofus who like read a couple books and now you think you have like some authority on the matter. You think you have the ability to condescend people and just waltz in and just be like, okay, well, I know what's what. I'm just going to make a bunch of presumptions about your character and judge you based on that. And then when you question me on it, I'm just going to revert back to being like, oh, did I hurt your fifis?
Repeat stuff.
You said a bunch of stupid bullshit.
All right, dude. I'm going to move on from this.
Do you want to talk about my repertoire, Swegta? Because I'm happy to send you a dossier. That's not political.
A dossier.
Zale, this conversation is clearly not being productive, so I'm going to move on.
What a shock. Look at the audience.
Yeah, I'll bring you on another time. We can talk about.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Talk about something
Dude,
else.
you make up like 10% of the audience, you fucking nincompoop.
Oh wow, you got a multisyllabic word there. Careful, the Neanderthal is learning.
Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna move on, dude. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, I have a couple more. Simpleton comes to mind. What else do you want?
I can't wait to see.
Should I bring up a fucking thesaurus and just find a bunch of like different words that I can use to insult you?
Yeah.
Talk later.
Will that get you off?
Go do that. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna bring in.
god, what a fucking moron. Holy shit. I don't know how you fucking deal with having someone like that in your community, Jamie. I really don't.
I don't know. He's been decent enough to me. He can go a little far sometimes.
Sure.
But...
I mean, like, if you get along, that's all fine. I'm not going to try to turn you against him. I'm just, based on my impression, I'm just kind of like, oh my god, I would have banned this person immediately. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I don't know. He can go a little too far. Okay, here we'll bring on one. We'll bring on one more person. We'll see how this goes, and then we might just wrap it up after that. 'Cause I know a couple people have been waiting a while, but these tend to go. I'm not good at cutting these off when I need to. Let's bring on one more person. Yo, what up, headless son?
Son.
Or heedless son. Welcome. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I see the little green ring thing around their name,
Yeah,
or like their picture. They are quiet. They have been silenced. Their papers are not in order.
Can't hear you, yo. Damn, yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Headless son.
Going once. Going twice.
Going twice.
All right, we're gonna bring in the next dude, and we'll maybe if we got time later, we'll try to bring you back in, or you can call in next time. All right, well. All
right, go fish.
All right, Desolator666. What do you got for us?
Cool fucking name.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Got from the other two. How's my volume?
You're all right.
What?
Alright. Do we have to stay on the same topic?
The depends.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, okay, I don't know. It's your show, Jamie, but like, you know, whatever you want to ask me about, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie with the host. Oh my god. Oh, right. Wait, I'm debating this gentleman right here. What's his name? Okay.
Swegta, yes. What's your
Swegta.
question for Swegta? And try to speak up a little bit if you can.
Alright. Oh wait, I'll put up my volume. Alright, well, I'm not too sure. I remember who he is in the chat, so not sure, but I did have a few conversations with a few people in the Discord. It's kind of funny how that goes down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, like that's the thing that's kind of irritating, you know, like about like okay, first off, I understand that if you guys go to actual politics and you guys, you know, yes, you guys could be just as powerful, you know, talking and streaming and building a foundation, a following, and building a family, and building a narrative, you know, a freaking political narrative. But I mean, it's like, so I guess that's why you guys really don't go 100% into politics, because that's one thing we don't see is politicians who are like freaking streamers, or then again they haven't reached that age bracket where, well, some of them have.
I think like I've seen a lot of like local politicians talk to people like Destiny and Vosh. So I do think times are changing when it comes to like, you know, small towns electing people, and you know they appear like, you know, on like streams like Vosh.
Yeah.
So I think there's a change happening there. But as far as like, you know, big politicians go, yeah, I don't know. I just actually like one instance that comes to mind, which is the only like example that I have, is a AOC appearing on like a H-Bombers Twitch stream or whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot Destiny was kind of a politician. To be fair, I don't really watch him, but
Well, he's not a politician, but he gets involved with politicians. I think that
Vosh was gone.
I just think that's the problem. Like, we can't be politicians. We can work with politicians, but I don't think anyone, me, Vosh, Destiny, fucking Cenk Uygur couldn't even cut it as a politician because of the shit in his past. Like,
no,
if you've done,
I mean, like, you know,
Is that even? Go on, dude.
there's like no way for a lot of people who have social media followings to just kind of like break out into the political scene. Or maybe there is, but like I've yet to see it. I think like the closest thing would be to coordinate different people who support certain causes, like like Kyle Kalinske and the Justice Democrats, stuff like that. Like we can help.
Well, furthermore,
but I don't think we can run for office. No.
Yeah. Furthermore, I think that's not our job. Our job isn't to be the people that run for office. Our job is to spread the ideas and radicalize people into an ideology where they realize, oh shit, like this is what we need to be fighting for. Like that's what our goal is.
And it is fun to do that, and I'm sure you guys are having fun entertaining as well as being passionate about what you guys are invoking and discussing. Like, as far as that goes, though, yeah, like I see that aspect. I lost my train of thought.
That's fine.
I think the best thing we can do is just kind of like convince as many people as possible, and beyond that, maybe it's going to get to a point where somebody like Vosh might be able to run for office and actually win or affect some change outside of convincing people on the internet. But for the time being, like I'm totally fine with us having this role. I mean, like I'm not even like a political YouTuber. The closest thing that I've done is like I've convinced people here and there when it comes to like gun control or maybe like striving for like a more egalitarian kind of like secular utilitarian society. Outside of that, outside of like convincing a select few people, like there's not a whole lot that I can do because like it's not really my forte. I'm not well versed in politics or the history of it.
People know how to like freaking entertain, and people know how to invoke passion and stuff. It's kind of scary. So, with joke, though I'm not a Christian, but I kind of wanted to like debunk that shit, but that shit's already been done. But if you don't want me to cuss, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I would joke that the next Antichrist may be from YouTube because it's like it's popular. It's hard.
You know his name is Vosh.
I am the Antichrist.
Dude, I just said that. Go on to me. I'm sorry.
I am the real Antichrist. Okay, I've been. It's
and
literally it's my role in my Discord. I'm the Antichrist in my Discord. Yeah, I am the Antichrist.
Yeah, I want to see the world burn. I want to see the world burn. Go ahead, have fun.
But no, I honestly, I think what we're doing or what I'm trying to do here is important. And because all I can do is like convince the people that watch me, but and not everyone has, and I don't even have a very big audience, and not everyone has the kind of reach that someone like Vosh does. But if I can convince the people that watch me to of what needs to be done, but not just what needs to be done, but also to do the work to convince others, to convince the people around them. If we have every goddamn fucking leftist in this country or in the world, or at least a good fucking majority of them realizing, hey, we need to be spreading these ideas, we need to be doing the work to spread this shit, so that it grows and so that it has an opportunity, a chance of reaching people and accomplishing something. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's true for anyone with who feels like what they want to do is right or what they want to do is just. I mean, not saying I'm not trying to disassociate from what you're saying. Some of what you say so far makes sense. So I mean,
I do want to address something that Galen said real quick. So he said the goal is to be ideological, which unfortunately, yeah, kinda. I mean, I don't want it to be the case, but I do think that's really the only approach you have when it comes to like affecting any political change. You do have to defer to a lot of people's ideologies. You can't really convince most people to look beyond that. As unfortunate as that is, if you want to be effective when it comes to having any kind of like meaningful change, yeah, you do have to do that. I don't want it to be the case, not at all, but you know.
Yeah. But funny enough, I don't think funnily is the word. Funny enough, but a lot of people seem to go the Hitler route and play on people's passion and anger and rage and shit.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's effective. Because when people are passionate or angry about something, they're more likely to act rather than people just being passive and not caring. That's why, like, a lot of people do, like, the goal is to get people to care, you know, but you can't, it can, you know, fascism can be spread in that way, and that's true, but that doesn't mean that, like, appealing to people's passion is inherently a bad thing, because you can also lead people to the right ideas that way.
Yeah, or it could be
not only...
Go on.
Sorry. Okay, so not only that, but I think that it's crucial that you do that before the opposition does it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You know, like fascism will appeal to a lot of people's fears and shit. And I don't like saying this, but I think it's better for you to do that than for like a more harmful movement to do that before you get to the chance to, or do it more effectively. You do have to coordinate people in the best way possible, and people are emotional creatures. So really, like, you have to utilize that to its fullest potential. If you don't do that, somebody else will, and they will probably be successful at it because you're not going to be there to use them instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't... Yeah. I found what point I was gonna make before. It was that... Okay, I mean, you guys shouldn't sell yourself short because you guys had a shady past, whether it's talking shit or whether it's being a neckbeard, crazy,
yeah.
or being a
I mean, me personally, it's more about just like kind of like edgy humor that I've engaged with in the past, and the fact that like I don't actually have like a spotless track record. I don't have like a good past. I don't have like a good family life. So like even setting aside a lot of the shit that I've said, people are gonna look at my relationships and my family and how I grew up, and whatever else, not just the opinions that I have or like what I've said or done, but the surroundings I've come from, and they're gonna judge me based on that.
Yeah.
So even if I were to set all of that aside and just be like, I'm just gonna totally wipe my past somehow, if I have to pay people off, I'll do it. Like whatever. I'm gonna run for office for a good cause, and I actually do. People will find a lot of fucking dirt on me eventually, and it's totally gonna sink any campaign that I have.
Yeah, and I'm sure that if some people who are sociopaths are able to do that way better. But like I said, that like we're dealing with people like we're dealing with people who have secret emails when they're not supposed to. We're dealing with people who like Trump, who like to allegedly do things inappropriately, and
sure, but like here's the thing, dude. You either in order to become a politician, you gotta be squeaky clean on some level. Like once you already have power, Trump and Biden, yeah, they've done terrible things and they're able to still get elected, but they already had power before that. Like, it's very hard to gain prominence, especially as a leftist, by the way. Okay, if I was a right-winger, like, yeah, I could run as a right-winger any day. Any of us could. Like, that wouldn't be fucking hard. But to run as a leftist, like, it's not about selling yourself short. It's just being realistic and being like, look, if you try to... Because, by the way, not everyone's job is to run for office. There's other shit you can do other than just running for office. And I'm being realistic and saying that I don't think that's my role.
Yeah,
and it kind of limits you to being just 100% in the as a Republican or 100% in the Democratic. I like how you and a lot of people like Bosch are very like water. You guys be like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that seems good. That seems bad. it's like either or, and it's, you know what I mean? But I mean, so maybe it's a good thing.
I mean, like the best thing we can do is convince people one by one, and you know, beyond that point, like someone with a more flawless character is gonna have to like take the lead and actually like enact that change. I also want to bring up, like Galen brings up a good point. It's not just about like character. It's also about monetary. You know, your role monetarily. Like someone like me. I mean, like I'm not. You know, I don't have a lot. I live in a fucking 1-bedroom apartment. You know, like there's no way for me to fund a campaign on my own. And even if I were to like, you know, appeal to like donors and stuff, like there's no fucking way that I could get enough people to like, you know, support my campaign to, you know, even get close to competing with the major parties and, you know, where I live. Like I'm just speaking as far as like Sweden goes. I don't know enough about like, you know, U.S. Electoral politics to like really speak on that too much. But as far as like, you know, my role in society goes, like there's not a whole lot that I can do. The best thing that I can do is convince people to vote a certain way, vote that way myself, and then, you know, maybe, you know, if I have the ability, support campaigns that I feel strongly for.
Yeah, but realistically though, you know, as the generations go on, our children, our children's children, the elephants in the room are gonna keep on getting bigger and bigger until it's like, yeah, why are we doing this? They're all well, most of them are kind of shady, and we shouldn't be so selective when there are people who have been in power. There are people who are governors, presidents who have been shady, and these people over here, they were just edgelords. That's the worst thing we see them doing. Well, you know, whatever, or unless, you know.
Sure, but I mean, like, how do you change that though?
I don't know. The status quo is really hard to change. That's the ultimate question, isn't it? It's hard to change the status quo. I mean, look how long it took for us to get out of the chokehold of religion. Look how, and then after that happened, look how much was suppressed. Look how many, you know, it took freaking Oprah to say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about our feelings. Let's talk about our emotions. Let's talk about what's really going on. And then everyone's just like, yeah, I was abused by this person. I was abused by that person. Yeah, I was gay. I was afraid, you know, because my religion told me that I would go to hell and I would suffer. So, yeah, I held it in. I was trans. I held it in that I was gay. You have all these voices coming out. You have all these, status quos of what a man and woman needs to be, and, you know, and they're being shattered, you know, because it wasn't right that there was a lot of suppression on many fronts of society and how it functioned. Make sense?
Yeah, I feel like it's, I mean, like it's not gonna get better anytime soon, but until that possibly happens, which I don't think it will, but if it does, again, coordination. It's really the only way we have right now. And as someone who doesn't really have a sizable audience, I mean, like I have, you know, some Twitter followers. I have like a moderately, slightly successful YouTube channel, but like I'm not in any position to achieve any meaningful effect or change rather. Yeah. The best thing that I can do is just like convince people to like, okay, well, yeah, you know, you don't like it when for instance, like, you know, people in my audience, a lot of them are, you know, gamers, and gaming culture is a lot of it is like, you know, dismissive of a lot of like social ills. Like if you talk about women facing certain inequalities, a lot of them are just like quick to like dismiss that as like, oh, well, you're just like an SJW. It's like, no, I'm not, and here's why, and I'll provide examples, and over time I'll anger a lot of people, but by the end of it I'll have, you know, like a couple dozen people who you know will join in like my side of the fence.
That's all you can hope for.
There's like
sometimes.
Small incremental change that like, you know, I can you know move towards, but like I can't fucking, you know, I can't run for office and do it successfully.
Yeah. Have like, if you want more followers, like be a lot of like some higher up political YouTubers kind of don't do this, but have your have your debates be challenged and challenge people on what they don't on what they don't. Of course, like freaking like debates are kind of pointless because it's just like you're never gonna convince the other person because they don't want to look bad, and then it's it's your audience versus their audience, so it's kind of like pointless, but then it's kind of not. But then again, we've all shared ideas from Socrates and all these people. They shared ideas with each other. They had long, vigorous discussions, and there's no reason why we shouldn't entertain ourselves by having vigorous discussions and stuff. Like, it's good.
True.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really like nothing that I think we disagree on there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, we're all agreeable. We got an agreeable fucking caller for finally. By the way, to the person
we found one.
To the person in the chat that was complaining that you didn't get to call in, if you jump in real quick, we can get to you before we go. But I do want to end this here in a few minutes, so I'll give you a chance to jump back in real quick. But otherwise, I'm probably gonna wrap this up.
Well, we can entertain the masses. Are you guys Christians? I can fight against that.
No. There's no Christians here. This is an atheist show.
Damn it. I want blood. Come on.
I started my channel as an atheist channel. I came out of the amazing atheist community.
I mean, okay. Well, same. We're on the same side again. Shit.
Yeah.
Oh well.
There is no God. We've reached enlightenment. All right. So I'll
That's all. We're just kind of like, there is no God. At the end, we win.
Yep. I've already moved way past that. I don't even consider it like worthwhile to argue anymore.
Yeah, God of the Bible was a crazy ass murderer and all that shit.
Damn right. All right.
Masochist.
I'm gonna move on to the last person here. Thank you for calling.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
See ya. All right, we'll bring in Headless Sun one more time. Yo, what up?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yo, you got your mic working? Doesn't seem to be working again, yo.
What the fuck's going on? Jamie, what is this?
I don't know, dude. It's Discord. I blame Discord, yo. It's not my.
Are you okay?
It's not my fault. It's not your fault.
Jamie, are you okay? You okay, Jamie?
Swegta, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, Swag. It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault, Swag. It's
Shut
not
up.
your fault.
Stop it. Stop it, Jamie. Stop it.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. We can't hear you. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to turn you up. You're not muted or anything in the server. I don't know if you got the right audio source connected or what. You might try to switch your mic.
You're getting like DDoSed by the alt-right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, dude.
Break your fucking mic tonight.
Yeah. I don't know. I've given you a chance to get your mic working. I don't know why it's not working. I do apologize for that. Let's well you can feel free to call in another time. But yeah, we're probably gonna wrap this up here.
Yeah, if you want to ask me something, if you really want to ask me something, you can just hit me up on Twitter, and I'll respond privately.
Yeah. Dope. All right.
I
guess I have one more question for you, Swag.
Oh.
Where's the poop?
Oh.
Where's the poop?
Jamie, my attorney, Jacob Rosenthal, is not present, so I plead the fifth. I will refuse to answer any questions.
Damn it. I thought we could get somewhere with this. All right. That's fine. I mean, I do have...
No, I've been interrogated before. I'm not going to fall for that shit.
I have evidence, And you know what? It'll come to light very very fucking soon. All right. I have concrete evidence that you poop ninja'd in my house. All right. You came in my house and you stole the poop. All right. I don't know why you would do such a thing. I don't know what you do with these turds, but it's whatever. You won't admit to it. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Well, my lawyer will be in touch. Why are you storing poop? This was a bad meme from Underhaven.
Yeah,
okay, I apologize.
All I can think about is like that fucking that video of that guy on YouTube who's like, you know, Jennifer poops at the parties. She's a party pooper.
Yeah, dude. The poop dude, poop ninja. Your mic was working I don't know, dude. I apologize for that. It doesn't seem to be working now. I'd love to have you on, but yeah, I gotta go do some other shit. But thank you for coming on, Swag. Right. It's been fun.
Hey, thank you. If you want me on at some point, let me know, and I'll clear my schedule. I don't feel too fucking good about this whole poop thing, Jimmy, but, you know, setting that aside, hopefully you can do some editing and remove that, you know, if you omit any accusation from this broadcast.
Well, I didn't make the accusation here. It's over on Underhaven. Everyone knows what happened, okay? Everyone knows what you do, what you get up to, all right? In all seriousness, yeah, kayfabe aside, it's been great catching up with you, Swag. I think we had a really good discussion, and even though we're not going to agree on everything, it's a hell of a lot more productive than some other conversations I've had recently.
I enjoyed it, even kind of like raging at that one caller. I had fun doing that. It was cathartic. I had a bunch of like fucked up memories that I was like channeling in that moment. So I was like, oh God, fuck you, Dad, or whatever. So like it's good for me to just like take that out on some random fucking buffoon calling in.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah, TMI, but
Well, thanks for coming on. We'll get you on again soon. And hopefully next time, if anyone who didn't get to call in, you can probably call in to Swegta next time he comes on. All right. But yeah, we'll talk soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Peace out.
Peace. All right. All right. Well, that was a show. Hope everyone enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure to click the like button. Subscribe, share, do all of that shit, and consider becoming a patron. God damn it, I gotta do the patron show tomorrow. I put it off again. I put it off until the very last day. I apologize. We'll be doing a patron show tomorrow night for everyone who is a patron, and yeah. So we'll see y'all then. Again, like, subscribe, share, join my Discord. Where you can get notified every time I go live. Follow me on Twitter, all of that shit. And go subscribe to Swegta, because Swegta's got some good content, yo. Some good fucking shit. And yeah. Until next time, y'all. Have a great night. Peace out.